they had an opportunity to have Malcolm McLaren be their manager when they were supposed to be on the same bill as the Sex Pistols, but Will Shatter blew it.
Of course he did. Of course he did. But why did he?
He said, I think he said something along the lines of, we don't need a manager, new rules, no rules.
Welcome to Every Album Ever, the podcast where we listen to every single album in the world, one artist at a time. My name is Michael Mansour, and I'm joined, as always, by my plaid-clad co-host, Alexander Volt. Say hello.
Hello.
And today, we will be discussing every album by
Flipper.
And if you're watching the video, you could already tell we're joined by my wonderful brother, Robert. Say hello.
Hello.
We were not going to do an episode on Flipper without having Robert here. It would have been an insult to my childhood and growing up with this band playing quite a bit. And it was not my choice. It was all Robert's choice.
The quintessential Robert band.
Easily. I could think of like a few, like no one else. I would have never listened to them willingly if it were not for Robert. Beefheart's a big one. Flipper is another one. I was actually very, very excited about this episode. This is at a certain point, a few weeks back, Alex said, all right, it's been a while since we've had a mic pick. Which band do you want? And I said, it's gotta be Flipper, baby. It's gotta be Flipper.
Right on.
Hell yes.
Right on.
So now that we have listened to every album by Flipper, I already have a feeling how Robert feels. Alex, how do you feel?
I'm tired. This was supposed to be easy. A little bit of a spoiler alert. I like 2 albums. And then
it's coming a mile away.
boy, oh boy.
Oh, I saw this coming.
This was tough for me too.
It's your band.
It was hard to pick the best.
You know what, Robert? I'm right there with you. I was dancing between best for a while. I ended up coming out with very different picks than I thought I would. I feel like I almost feel like I have Alex's picks nailed in my head already, just because when going into this episode, I thought like this is gonna be a fun one. I have fond memories of this band. It's not gonna be Alex's particular thing, but he'll have fun with it. About maybe the 3rd album in, I was like, oh, Alex is in hell right now. There's no way.
It wasn't actually until the 3rd album. It was when you fuckers decided to tack on a bunch of bullshit. That's when
it is not bullshit, Alex.
Essential listening.
Essential listening, Alex.
My ass.
Okay, this is gonna be good.
So for what Alex is talking about here, folks, is we are covering all the studio albums, all 4 studio albums, in addition to 2 live albums. We don't normally cover live albums here unless there's a good reason. The only live albums we've covered in the past are Nirvana's In Utero,
Portishead, like a Cream album.
But that was part of the main album, so it was kind of got there. It kind of snuck its way past us. Dazzling Killman. There's like a few, just like, all right, well that makes sense for that kind of like thing, whatever. But typically live albums, and we just get a bunch of repeats. We get the idea. The Flipper live albums, which I didn't even consider putting these on the to-do list for this episode until Robert changed my mind. Robert, how did you explain why the hell we're listening to the live albums?
A lot of the Flipper mythos revolves around them as a live band. And there's just like a certain aspect of them that gets captured on the live stuff that I don't think it's really present on some of the studio stuff.
You mean trash and garbage?
Disagree. Hard disagree.
Actually, kind of, yeah, but in the best way.
Performance-wise, I 100% agree. But fun-wise and hilarious-wise, I think they are worth checking out. Life-wise. I don't know, I wouldn't go that far. But
it's a aspect of life, the gritty aspect of life.
Yeah, if you want to make a stretch with that one, sure.
Yeah, I got enough of that in life. So I don't need it.
Alex,
yeah,
we know it's got its ups and downs. All right.
The only thing worth living for.
So we're going to be covering. Yeah. We're going to be covering Blowin' Chunks from 1984, as well as Public Flipper Limited from 1986. The thing is, we're not doing a full because if you're new here for some reason, you don't know what we do. We pick our best and worst from each discography. I don't think it's fair to include Blowin' Chunks in that because there's only like 1 or 2 tracks on there that are exclusive to that live album. It's mostly repeats, but Public Flipper Limited it's mostly original songs on that. Even though it's a live album, it's a gigantic live album. It's mostly original songs in there. So I think that's completely fair game to talk about that one. And honestly, the production isn't that much worse than the studio albums. So, I mean,
I disagree. About the production, but I agree with that it's worth covering.
We got Alex to agree with something.
It like barely ekes into there.
I thought I'd never heard Public Flipper Limited until listening to it again and realizing that, oh yeah, obviously if I lived with Robert at any point, I obviously have heard this, even if it was just like through the door.
Oh, that one, and I think Sex Bomb Baby. Actually, I hadn't gone fishing. I didn't really get to hear a good portion of their stuff till the CD reissues, which was like a lot later. So the main ones, like growing up, would have been like Generic and Blowin' Chunks, and then whatever the singles I was able to find online.
I distinctly remember, if we're going to take a little trip down memory lane, I not only do I remember when you first got Blowin' Chunks and then that being on rotation for a long time, I remember the Epic of Gilgamesh journey of trying to get your hands on Generic.
Oh yeah, I had to order it.
Yeah. How long it took for you to get it. How many times I heard you talk about this album and like explain to people like what album you were looking for. How many times I was like, what is this fucking album? Why does it keep saying Generic? And then when you finally got it and then hearing it, it was like a weirdly important moment.
Oh, interesting. I'm glad it was. Yeah, that was, it was not easy. They were a band that I was trying to hear for years. Like the time that I really kind of discovered them and was learning more about them, it was like kind of the worst time to try and listen to them because nothing was available. There was, the Blowin' Chunks CD that was reissued in 2001. So that was like, oh wow, something from Flipper. Wow, like that was, I just took whatever I could.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, I think at Tower Records I found out that Generic was on CD on American Records. I think that's Rick Rubin's label.
That's right. He had the right to them at that time.
Yeah, and no store ever would stock it, so I had to order it. And I think it took like, I want to say around 6 weeks or something. It was a long time. It felt like before it finally came in the mail. Like I would just read about this band and kind of like imagine like for years what they sounded like. It's like why are they so elusive,
but out of tune? Why are they so many things? There's like a big legend, not legend, but like, there's a lot of hype behind them being, one of Kurt Cobain's favorite bands and all that, and being a huge influence to the Melvins.
We've all seen the T-shirt that we all know and love.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't even know it was a band.
Why would you? Well, it looks like it was drawn.
Like a little like quirky thing. Yeah, it was drawn. Yeah, he drew that from the Blowin' Chunks album cover. Apparently,
never mind. Yeah, okay. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, homemade T-shirt. It was the perfect time though when I found that Blowin' Chunks CD, and then I finally got to hear them because I heard the Melvins covers, Way of the World, Sacrifice. So I had heard their stuff somehow. But then hearing the real thing, like it just completely lived up to my expectations.
It lived up. You hear that, Alex? It lived up to his expectations.
They became like my favorite band.
This is what I grew up with.
I remember like all I had was just the Blowin' Chunks CD and the booklet with the liner notes, and then just the photos. And that was the only image that I had of the band. And I didn't know who sang what songs. I just knew it was Bruce Lewis and Will Shatter, but I didn't know who sang which one. So I was trying to like imagine like, okay, this guy looks like this. Yeah. Just sang this song or whatever. And then just like the band photos, man, like they're probably, I want to say, I don't know if I'll say the top, but easily top 2 most charismatic punk bands that I've ever seen.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, there's a certain charm. They're very funny. They're very interesting guys. They're the most authentic sons of bitches you'll ever see, regardless of whether or not they can play their instruments with each other at any point in time. There's something supremely charming about them. Alex, why do you disagree?
Well, I think the how do I say this without getting too far into the albums? I get it to a point. To a point, I totally get it. And I should have checked these out sooner. As a youth, the Nirvana, like Kurt Cobain wearing the flipper shirt. I don't know why Sex Bomb is such a notorious song. I'm sure Robert has 30 minutes about it. But I remember that like being in the lexicon of a lot of bands, and then once I listened to the Melvins and the Sacrifice cover, I should have this made them more of a priority. But yeah, I think they've earned their place with 2 albums. So
I would argue with more, and so would Robert. But here's the thing: I can't even get mad at it not agree. I can. Listening to it, I'm like, all right. I can't argue with any criticism of this. This does sound like shit.
Yeah,
well,
I mean,
also as we learned with Faith No More, that you guys are fucking madmen with your King for a Day picks. I've asked a few people, and everyone's like, "What the fuck?" Like, it's just you and Tom.
It's not just me and Tom. Check all the fucking comments, dude. People love that album.
Oh,
King for a Day rules.
I stopped checking because you said they sucked. So
comments do suck, but there's a lot of people backing up my claim that King for a Day rules. I mean, there's a lot of people. It's a great album. Robert, what do you think about Faith No More's King for a Day, Fool for a Lifetime?
I haven't heard it, but now that you mention them, there's a video I think of Flipper playing live, and then Faith No More back when Courtney Love was the singer.
Oh shit! Really?
Yeah, I just scrolled past it today. I think I already saw the Flipper footage, like separate somewhere else, but I guess it was all part of the same video or something.
Holy crap! Yeah. She was a singer for like 10 minutes, and I didn't think there was any footage of that. That's crazy.
Yeah, I didn't really watch it the Courtney Love stuff.
Yeah,
I'll check it out at some point out of curiosity. I think I saw a short clip of it though, and it wasn't like it wasn't as bad as I was expecting or weird as I was expecting. It just seemed like, I don't know, just a band with a girl singer or something.
Yeah, fair enough.
Robert was just watching the new Linkin Park lineup and thought it was old Faith No More footage.
I've managed to avoid it. I've avoided that better than I managed to avoid the first run of Linkin Park. That was almost inescapable.
Oh my God, boy, I remember being a small child and you sincerely giving them a fair chance and then coming out with like, no. Like very respectfully, like, no.
Yeah, that was the time when I was really listening to Flipper a lot too.
Well, he made his choice.
Yeah.
Flipper, for those who don't know, is the original lineup was it was formed by Ted Falcone on guitars, and Will Shatter on bass, then Steve DePacy on drums, and Bruce Lewis, who changed his name to Bruce Luce many years later, according to the wiki, which could be bullshit, is because he wanted to be more optimistic, which is a very funny reason to change your name from Bruce Lewis to Bruce Lewis, whatever. It's fun. They're a fun bunch of dudes. And we got some notes here from our history guy, Tom Osman, who you should all go support and follow. We have mostly taken from an interview with Steve DePacy in 2019 from the Georgia Straight. Very lengthy, big chunky interview. He pulled extracts that are relevant to, different time periods. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff here, a lot of interesting history, a lot of death, a lot of drugs, a lot of ups and downs, random things, a lot of things I didn't really expect about it. How much of this band's history do you know, Robert?
A pretty good amount, I think, because like I mentioned, I was just trying to find out anything from them. So I know about they kind of came out of Negative Trend with Will Shatter, and I think Steve which I've heard his last name pronounced different ways. But
DePacy.
I think I heard David Yao say DePachi or something.
It's probably
I thought it was like DePace. But I think, don't they say that in one of the recordings, Steve DePace? I don't know.
Because if it's, I mean, it looks Italian. If it's it could be DePachi. You know what?
And then he has goes by other names and stuff too. So I think he's referred to as Vito in the liner notes of one of the records.
Let's go Vito. Let's just go.
Yeah.
It's a good ass name.
Mike, we did an episode where we called someone Steve Magooch, knowing damn well that
Magooch.
It was better than McGeoch. It's a better name.
I like it better.
So Negative Trend, I actually have that Negative Trend EP like somewhere in my collection over there. It's a cool EP. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that they had 3 different iterations with like different members. I believe Steve said he got kicked out along with, I already forgot.
You're talking about Negative Trend, right?
Negative Trend, yeah.
Yeah. One of the vocalists, Roz Rezabek, who, if you've ever seen the movie Kurt and Courtney, he makes an appearance.
Yeah.
In an interview, he was talking about like Will Shatter and how Negative Trend almost got, they had an opportunity to have Malcolm McLaren be their manager when they were supposed to be on the same bill as the Sex Pistols, but Will Shatter blew it.
Of course he did. Of course he did. But why did he?
He said, I think he said something along the lines of, we don't need a manager, new rules, no rules.
Fucking moron. And then he died several years later. Fuck.
But then Roz did say that Will Shatter was kind of like the actual Sid Vicious, and he thought people should have been looking up to him instead of Sid Vicious. He kind of like, I guess, really embodied the true like punk spirit or whatever.
Well, he was slightly better at bass than Sid Vicious. I'll give him that.
Yeah, I think a lot better,
but he was too fucked up to play. I mean, I think for the most part. And I will say, out of the 2 vocalists in like the prime early years of Flipper, Will is the one with no rhythm. But when it comes to the singing, he's the one with no pitch and no rhythm.
Yeah, no, he's definitely like, even by punk standards, like, you didn't think there could be like a bad singer, but yeah, even within punk, he's kind of a bad singer. But in a weird way, like, I think I've come not full circle, but I think I might prefer him more now than Bruce.
Really? Why?
Because it's just that raw and that, I don't know, like he's still, it feels more, it sounds cliche. I don't know. I feel like I get the emotion, like the emotion comes across better or something.
Mm-hmm. Alex?
Like it's more authentic somehow.
I just learned that there was 2 different singers right now.
Are you serious? Their voices are completely different.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe like the bass player sings and then the guitar player sings and then it's just metallic noise and stuff.
So the 2 bass players and vocalists, whenever one bass player, one of them is singing, the other one, they swap bass and vocals basically. Yeah, Bruce is the one with the snarly, punkier, and then later on screaming voice. Will is the one who sounds like Lenny of Mice and Men.
That's a good description of his voice, I would say.
All right, thank you. So some of this backstory. So they came from some Negative Trend. Steve was kicked out of Negative Trend earlier, but eventually they broke up and Will formed Flipper with Ted Falcone, who is his own can of worms. The man. Boy, the man. Robert, talk about Ted Falcone, please.
In my opinion, you could put your Henry Rollins aside, your I forgot his name. I can't believe I forgot it. I never would have forgot it.
Great again?
No. I'm talking about intimidating, scary, hardcore guys. Macias.
John Macias. John Macias.
Yeah, Circle One. You can put him aside. Yeah. I think Ted Falcone is hands down probably the scariest looking guy from the time. And I think it's like, I don't know. He just looks like a guy who's seen some stuff.
He has. He was in Nom.
Yeah, there's that.
He was literally in Nom.
It's the quiet thing, you know, like when someone, he seems like a quiet guy. I mean, he is kind of quiet, like in interviews and stuff too, and like his demeanor, like it makes it less predictable, and like, I don't know. Just look at the band photos on Blowing Chunks and look at his expression. You don't want to mess with that.
He was, according to Steve, he was in Nom 3 different times, which is already like, all right, well, 1 was too many, but okay. It says right here, well, Steve says right here, yes, he was a Vietnam vet, and he was in Vietnam 3 different times. And when he came back, he went to art school, graduated, and at one point in time got a master's degree in art or music or something. He was studying the Moog synthesizer, so he was into art and music both in school, and he became an art teacher at one point in time. All things that I was not expecting listening to his guitar playing.
Yeah. Well, he did design the logo.
Wait, what?
Oh, he designed the Flipper logo.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah,
Alex, what do you think of his guitar playing?
Ideas.
I was strangely fascinated with it at times. They've crafted an almost like krautrock noise jam band thing with it. And I don't know what I was expecting from this band, but I wasn't expecting that. And then on a more fun note, as an old man, he looks like a punk Richard Lewis.
Ah, R.I.P.
Never thought of that. But
Yeah, I was just looking at pictures of him right now to see how scary he looked. I was like, who does he remind me of? And then I was like, Richard Lewis a little bit.
Interesting. Ted Falcone plays guitar very strangely. There's plenty of bands and punk bands especially, I guess, where you can point to like, oh yeah, they're just doing some crazy noisy thing. They're fucking around. He's like special with his, what the fuck are you doing? Because for one, he knows, like, he's a musically trained guy. Like, he knows what he's doing. He's doing all this shit on purpose. Yeah, it's very intentional. So this is a quote from Steve, which I found fascinating. He says, he doesn't strum the guitar in any sort of normal style. I think he kind of uses the electric guitar as an instrument of noise. He gets the sound out of it that he wants out of his amplifiers and distortion boxes and his guitar and whatnot, but he just figured out this strange way of strumming. He knows what chords are, and he plays bar chords and chords, but the way he plays with the pick is unique. No one else does that. He kind of chops away at the strings rather than strumming them. I don't know how to explain it any better than that, but he plays in a very different, unique style. There's nobody that plays like him. You can't even really just transcribe what he's doing. I'll further that by just mentioning when Tom interviewed King Buzzer from the Melvins, go check out that episode, in a little deleted scene, so to speak, that I put on Patreon. They were talking about, Buzz was talking about guitar players, and he said, he's like, I'm way more interested in a Ted Falcone. Like, that's interesting. Like, that kind of, I don't care about guys who shred or anything. That's interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah. It's like if you could imagine somebody that can't play the instrument at all, but knows how to play it at the same time.
Yeah.
All the conventions just completely thrown out the window, but they're still playing music with it somehow.
It's like, it's done in the spirit of Beefheart, but it doesn't sound like Beefheart.
I'd say I don't know if he ever plays the same song the same way twice. That's the main difference.
Yeah. It feels very
except for maybe some of the songs he does, I think, where the ones actually have chords here and there, but
sometimes there's chords. Sometimes there's actually like, oh, that actually accents the bass line. I literally put it in my notes. You can count on one hand how many times he plays something that accents the bass line in the entire discography, in the entire career. Maybe 3 times he's like, oh, he's playing chords that go with that bass line. It's insane how rarely he does that.
Yeah. When I first heard it, man, it was exactly what the doctor ordered. I don't know, like up to that point, like maybe Greg Ginn was like the ugliest sounding guitars that I had heard, and then I didn't know it could get that much better.
This is the wording of that. I didn't know it could get that much better. I've gone on record shitting on Greg Ginn's guitar playing just because I think, it's too random for me. Like sometimes I love it and then sometimes I don't. I hate it. Alex, I know you're a big fan of Ginn.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I don't know. I guess because I'm not a guitar player, there were times while listening to this, I thought about Black flag, but not as a like direct one-on-one comparison like that. So
no, it was for me. It was more like moments in Greg Ginn's guitar playing that to me were pointing to other things out there that I hadn't heard yet, that I knew had to be out there, like because it was outside of what you normally heard in punk. So I was like, oh, there's got to be other music out there that's kind of like breaking the rules of like what's considered like the right note in a song or whatever. Like how King Bozo said about in the liner notes to Gone Fishin', like you can't be out of tune if you're never in tune.
Beautiful.
He's right.
You mentioned another Bozo quote. It made me think of, it was probably a video you showed me a long time ago on YouTube of him giving like a tutorial on how to play. Was it like Hooch maybe, or
yeah, songs from Houdini. I think it was,
and he's just teaching the viewer how to play the song, and he's doing a lot of like barred chords, but let's say it's in standard and he's borrowing all the chords, so it sounds like it's out of tune, like it sounds like there's wrong notes in there, and he's like, there's enough songs that are hitting the right notes. Why don't you just hit some wrong notes or something to that effect of like, it's okay to hit wrong notes. There's enough songs with the right notes. It's very much, I get it. And I get the appeal of it, because despite the fact that I've heard many of these songs for many, many years, I hadn't heard it in so long that when I hit play on the first record, I was like, holy shit, that is way more out of tune than I remember.
Yeah. I mean, even I was kind of thinking like, I don't know how a band like this could really exist anymore. And it's kind of more not to do with like, I don't know, people not wanting to do it, but it's like, it would just sound like somebody that's inspired by Flipper type music. Like, and I don't know, it's just, seems like now it seems kind of like a little time capsule to me.
Yeah.
Like
because we can't have that anymore, because we like a Pandora's box thing. Like we know too much. We already know that music can be like this. Now there's just more. Like if they're gonna be this shitty and sloppy, there's got to be something else to it.
Yeah, like even I don't know, music on the noisier side, still sounds good now.
Yes.
Like it sounds good, like it's recorded good or something. So that whole side of it is like, I can't see things being that raw again. I don't know.
There can, but it would be just in a different way. The way it is with Flipper is, I think, it's like time capsule, like you said. Maybe we could be proven wrong, but this is not an easy thing to pitch. It's amazing that they nowadays you can't sell this.
Yeah. I think the feeling I was trying to express was that it's probably harder to pitch now than ever.
Why do you think?
You say because people have such a cemented view of what punk is, and it's really and I really started to. I mean, I guess I kind of always knew this, but it's like a certain sound of punk has come to really define how people, what they think of, what they think it sounds like, or even looks like, or anything. And it's not really to do with the kind of that weird free spirited thing that bands like Flipper had, or other groups from the time, even from San Francisco, like Chrome and all that.
Right.
Yeah. I guess. I guess I'm just kind of not saying any new criticism that other people have said like, they'll think it's Green Day or something like that.
I don't know where Robert got the Green Day connection, but I disagree. I think like now with the internet and how these bands grow in legend, like there's probably never been more Beefheart fans in existence, or Flipper fans, but I mean, look at this podcast. Like we're just doing what we do, and then for some reason the Butthole Surfers episode puts us on the map. So I think Flipper's probably an easier sell these days than it was in their heyday. Everyone this loves to be so fucking open-minded. What do you listen to? I fucking listen to everything. No, you don't. You fucking don't. Tell me what music
they really
genre.
don't.
Yeah, tell me what music genres you hate. Are you okay with me putting on Flipper and then
Most
like
people will not be.
Well, they really don't, in the sense that people don't really listen to music anymore. They kind of dip their toes in it, and then like
it's not. I agree with you in that sense. Like now, it's kind of gone back to, in the early days, like 45s were big and everyone was recording 45s, and then the album came in and that changed things. And now with streaming, it's kind of gone back to being single oriented. So I agree with you in that aspect.
Maybe even shorter format than singles. I think it's down to like the 15-second TikTok loops.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, I think out of curiosity, I checked out that Beyonce album. And my main gripe, her country one, my main gripe with the album is it just hits you over the head with so many songs so fast. You don't have any time to like absorb them. And I think that's done on purpose. Like, okay, we're just going to do as many as we can, and hopefully some of them will hit. And if they don't, we have like 20 other songs for you to choose from.
They're creating content.
So
exactly. That's the key ugly word there, content.
I obviously have not listened to it. You're telling me that the songs are that short?
They all clock in like around 2 minutes.
So that's like the same method that they've always done with pop music. I mean, we did an episode on Destiny's Child recently, but now they're just shorting the fuck out of the song, sounds like.
Yeah, I was not ready to talk. I didn't think this was going to come up.
No chance. You didn't think fucking Beyonce was going to come up and flip her. We're talking about the extreme ends of great and bad. I gotta say.
Yeah, like the opening song's like 5 minutes, and it's like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, under a minute, 3 minutes.
Yeah, that's not normal for pop. Yeah.
Yeah, there's stuff in here that's just like it's over before you know it. Anyways,
pop is adapting. Holy shit, that's crazy. Yeah.
That's a little bit of a detour, but I think it kind of taps into what Robert was getting at.
There's no better time for hardcore punk to come back then, because 40-second songs, hey baby, it's our time again. Yes.
Flipper have a perfect song that matches that description, but that's getting way ahead.
With Brainwash, right?
Yeah.
Oh, can't wait.
I mean, I've talked about them before. To me, like Idols and then like Soul Glow are my favorite. I mean, Idols is so like beyond the punk thing now, but like I love what Soul Glow's doing with punk music. So
anybody who keeps just pushing and doing different things is always on my good side. But jumping a little bit back to this history, before Bruce joined, they had Ricky Williams, who was apparently in a band called The Sleepers, and they were that was the four. And when asked about like the early days, this is a quote that really, I didn't fucking see this coming based on everything we've talked about, how the music sounds. Steve said, the early days of Flipper, we really were very enthusiastic about playing it in the band and being in the scene in San Francisco. And we rehearsed seriously. You hear that? They rehearsed seriously. Apparently, they rehearsed three times a week. They had a strict rehearsal schedule. They were super serious about it. They'd go out and network as a band. They were taking it seriously. What the fuck?
If I didn't hear the live, if I didn't, I believe it. Listening to the studio albums, not the live albums, but the studio albums, I believe it.
I wouldn't agree with that, or I wouldn't believe that listening to the studio albums. There's fuck ups all over the studio albums.
I don't know, man. Steve's a pretty good drummer. Steve's
amazing. Steve is like the only member of the band who's always on it. He's always on it.
Yeah.
And I guess Ted too, if you count what he does as never fucking up, because I mean,
that's true. Yeah.
But it's crazy. Yeah,
can count on him.
Definitely count on him. I remember. Might as well talk about it now because it won't be as relevant in later on. We saw. I don't know if you saw them more than this once, but I saw Flipper once in 2014 or something. No, not 2014. 2007 or something like that. I don't remember.
It might have been earlier. 6. I don't know.
Might have been 6 or 7.
It was your birthday, wasn't it?
It was my birthday. It was like my 14th birthday or something. I think it was 14. And they were playing with like Channel 3 and some other bands. It was in Santa Ana.
Was it DI?
DI. Yeah, it was DI. And we went with an old buddy of mine and who was big into hardcore punk but hated Flipper, and it was extra fun going and just like singing the praises of Flipper, buying a shirt afterward, meeting Bruce Luce afterward. Meanwhile, he was just waiting around talking shit. What do you remember from that show? Do you remember anything that Bruce said to us? Because I don't.
Yeah, I do. It was very brief. Basically, he just thanked me for buying a shirt, saying that they've been doing it a long time. That maybe they'll start making some money. So he's buying a shirt, and I was just very like cringily said, "No, thank you."
Wait,
that was all I could tell him. Well, he's telling me thank you. I said, no, thank you.
Oh, no, thank you. Yeah. Nice guy. That was right after the first reunion, I believe. And that when we saw him, it was Bruno on bass. Bruno the smartass.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. I mean, is that Steve's brother?
I saw no mention of it being his brother on these in this interview. He just mentions him as someone who filled in for Will in the 80s.
Yeah.
He didn't say anything about it being his brother.
So to me, because it was him filling in, it seemed like maybe the closest thing you could kind of see to like the actual Flipper back in the day, because he would have been the stand-in anyways.
So I'm very grateful, even though the lineups, by the way, we'll talk about more about the current lineups, which are amazing, like crazy, amazing, unexpected lineups. But it was very nice to be able to see like, that the closest thing to that, because after that, we'll talk more in detail about when we get to it. But we get Krist from Nirvana, who recorded their last album with them, who was playing with them, which is already like, what the fuck? And then we get David Yao from Scratch Acid and GS Lizard. Check out our most recent episode on GS Lizard's new album, as well as the full episode, whatever. David Yao for a good while. And right now, currently, we got Mike Watt on bass and vocals. The fucking man with the man with the bass, man in the van with the bass in his hand. Mike Watt. Check out our episode on the Minutemen. I'm so glad that they survived, and just having this revolving door of amazing, great old school punk musicians just filling in because they all love Flipper.
Yeah, kind of like different super groups at a time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I think what Steve said, they're going to keep doing it till the wheels fall off.
Beautiful. Alex?
Oh, this kind of seems to be the way to do reunions. If a key important member is gone or can't do it, you just bring in a superstar like I know Misfits did Dave Lombardo, AC/DC bought in Axl Rose. That seems to make people happier.
And Bruce is gone too.
Bruce is now gone. He had to. I mean, it's a sad story, but he's went through a lot of surgeries, a lot of injuries. So he had to bow out in 2012. But yeah, I would consider Mike Watt celebrity status in the punk scene. Like he's really the best. I mean, truly the greatest bassist that entire scene in all of the country. I would say the best bassist. No objections. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, there's just nothing to say.
If I try to think of somebody, I just think of they're not better. They're just different or something.
Mm-hmm. So
because I was going to say Kira, but then she's like even did music with him. So it's like it's still
weren't they like married or something?
Yeah.
I believe I saw I think it was him and Kara. They just had a 2-person band and they both sang and played bass.
Yeah, they were called Dose.
Oh yeah, I've seen them play at the Smell.
Oh shit, really?
I remember when that happened and I didn't go. Wish I did.
Damn. Oh man,
I feel like me and Robert were probably at the Smell at the same time.
At the same time, yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. I didn't
know each other.
I know.
Oh man. But yeah, might as well start jumping into the albums. We did a nice little nerding out of the backstory. So like I said at the top, we're going to be covering 7 albums. We're not going to be putting Blown Chunks into like our picks, but we are going to discuss it in as much detail as we can here. First album came out in 1982. Most recent, last one, 2009. And yep, are you all ready?
I've been ready.
Yep.
Okay, so this came out in 1982. This is album Generic Flipper.
Just the feedback fading in makes me happy.
Yeah.
That's like every song. That's like every.
The lyrics to this song are some of my favorite in the world.
Asking the hard-hitting questions here.
It's like, ever say these lyrics to yourself?
There's something really fun about these lyrics where I think most punk bands, they'd be very juvenile, but they're deeper than that.
Well, the album as a whole is probably their most introspective and philosophical lyrically.
I would say out of all theirs, yeah. And it's so bizarre because it's hilariously out of tune, but it's these big poppy hand claps.
Yeah. I just don't understand why TV Party was a hit and this wasn't.
There's a couple of reasons, Robert.
Okay, well, just one. Just one reason.
This one's out of tune.
Oh, I mean, like, I find it like, the hand claps make the song for me.
Yeah.
It's this cool, charming thing about it, and I love the choice at the end where it's using the hand claps as an instrument and then to use it as like a soundscape for clapping. I just thought that was the cleverest shit I've ever heard. Also, this is their best.
I'm giving it best.
I'm giving it personal favorite, and it was best for basically the entire me listening to every single album until at the very end. I gave it one more over because I was conflicted, and I think something else ekes it out as a better, not just a representation, but better like flow of album and everything. But this is still like, oh, come on. Like this.
That's what I would say. Ekes it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude. So that song alone has they're very almost morbid, depressing lyrics, but there's something really relatable and comforting about them. Like, one of my favorite lyrics of all time is, "Ever wish the human race didn't exist? Then you realize you're one too." It's, yeah. I mean, come on.
Been there.
You've all been there.
Yeah, that's the stuff I'm talking about. For me, obviously, I like something better, but I can see how this album is the blueprint for a lot of things. I can feel the impact of it. It kept me engaged start to finish. Like, I think it's a no skip album.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it was this more like a matter of like, I like this other thing better, but I think I just have to give it up to this one.
It's funny because I was so dead set on this being best because for one, it's just one of the most strange and weirdest punk classics. Like, there's really nothing. There's no other punk album that's like, man, this is a weird one, and the sheer amount of memorable ass bass lines in lyrics on this, it's just too much to love. When I listened to it just strictly for pacing and just how invested I was, I actually found me picking something else over it. I was like, no, I do prefer that other one as an album more, but this one is just one that will always live with me. The one that it's just the same way, like that off key ass main riff. There's something just really comforting about it.
I don't know if I would call this music comforting, but I'm sure for you two sickos it is.
Oh yeah. Guilty as charged.
One of the few things I don't like of this album is, oddly enough, this version of Life is Cheap. Those pitch shifted vocals drive me crazy.
Oh yeah, I didn't like that when I heard the album for the first time, but then like, coming back to it now, it's just like I like the song better than I did before. I don't know.
As a fan of sludge metal, I really enjoy Life is Cheap because, and this is one I was thinking of Black Flag, because a lot of people point to My War as this link between punk and metal and the creation of sludge and stuff like that. But I think Life is Cheap deserves to be talked about in the same way My War is this. And then the nihilism continues. They have such this sounds conflicting, but they have such a charming, endearing way of being nihilists.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
See,
that's exactly
you get it.
Yeah.
No, I can get it. I can get it.
The sludge thing is real. Listening to this album, I'm thinking like, well, this is the first sludge album ever, really. I mean, in a way, anyway, because it's easy to point to My War, but this is 82, and man, this was at the not the peak, but like basically approaching the peak of hardcore punk, where it was as fast as possible. And these dudes are slowing it way the fuck down, doing 5-minute songs, longer fucking 8-minute songs. And it's really, really grimy, really dirty, really sludgy. Like Shed No Tears, Shine. I Saw You Shine is like, that's just a sludge song.
Yeah.
Yep. That could have fit on My War and really brings out the noise kraut rock vibes. It's just a marathon of noise rock.
Just melodically, the bass line sounds creepy, but then like happy at the same time. It's an odd feeling.
They do so much with these bass lines. They're all so memorable. The Way of the World is, I mean, come on. That's
anthem.
Incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah.
It is like the band doing a pop song, but there's this metallic fuzz stuff coming from the guitars.
Yeah. I mean, so
I find them trying to, particularly on that song, it's just like, it's like when my godson tries to show me something he thinks he's good at. I'm like, oh, it's just cute.
I think that bass line is really fucking spectacular. But Ted's guitars are really buried on this album, except for tracks like Nothing and Living for the Depression, where he's the loudest thing there, and it becomes unlistenable. But like, oh yeah, there's no song here, there's no riff. It's just drums and noise and vocals. So like he kind of needs to be buried, I think, even though it's like a nice element.
Those songs, I think, get overlooked a little bit.
They do,
but they help the album along so well. Like, I don't even know if I would call them filler tracks, but they're like some of my favorite ones on there too.
Really,
especially like Living for the Depression. Like the way it ends, it's like this moment of silence, like before like the big closer, Sex Bomb, starts. It's like one of my favorite moments in an album ever.
Oh, interesting.
I agree with Robert. I like the 1-2 punch of Living for Depression into Sex Bomb. And it's just another one where like I was just enamored with the lyrics. This song rhymes and we played in time.
Yeah. Yeah. Barely in time, but goddamn, does it rhyme?
Barely in time, yeah.
Yeah. I found Ted's guitars to sound a lot like Greg Ginn, Damaged tone wise, or maybe it's Dez as well, or they were both on there. But yeah, where it's just it's so fuzzy and so brutal and it's so overbearing. It's pure chaos, but god damn it, is it fun. But it's like for the big songs, man, they're just wonderful. Life is just, oh man, what a great song. Oh, what strangely uplifting lyrics, really memorable bass line. And Ted's crazy ass guitars just make sense on that one. I mean, it makes sense a lot of places, but that one really stuck out to me.
On Life?
Yeah.
I keep thinking of Way of the World, like these little scraggly lines that he does.
Yeah. So scraggly. Oh man. So I guess we might as well talk about Sex Bomb. I mean, it's their most famous song, quote unquote. And it's wacky. It's very, very wacky. It's 8 minutes. I mean, it's quite possibly one of the sleaziest bass lines ever written. Plus those fucking tequila ass saxophones. It's just such a fucking bizarre, hilarious, fun song that goes on for 8 goddamn minutes.
Yeah, I think it was kind of seen as like the Louis Louis of the scene.
It's wonderful. I
was covered numerous times. Like I think it was like one of the most covered songs.
Really? I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah, it's unhinged. It's wacky. It's zany. I'm glad. I don't know if there's slide whistles or if that's just all sax, but
the little bomb sounds, a little bomb whistle.
Man, yeah.
I was gonna say a theremin, but I think a theremin is on the other version.
It's just one of those songs where it shouldn't work, but it just nails it all the way.
It's such a strange closer that it just feels so good. It's so it lightens the mood of anything. Like it almost doesn't fit on the album, but that's kind of what makes it perfect as the last song. Yeah, it's such a party song. It's such a stupid homeless party song. It's fucking wonderful.
Yeah. Well, speaking of nails it. In an interview, Steve said that the guys that played sax, like literally, like came in on the day of recording and just wrote something on the spot, and then went in there and like just cut the song.
Really? Oh wow! I don't even think it doesn't even say on Discogs who played sax.
On Wikipedia, this says Bobby and then Ward, 2 different guys.
Interesting. Wow, that's surprised at how elusive this. I mean, come on, legendary saxes. Come on,
that's true. That is true.
As for the making of this album, which I didn't know any of this story, which I found this quite interesting. Steve says around 1980, there was an ad in a newspaper in San Francisco where this recording studio was looking for people to come down and work and earn studio time. I answered the ad and went down there, and they're kind of remodeling this recording studio. It was an established studio. It had been there for quite a while, and it had a great history. All these bands from the 60s and 70s had recorded there, but these new guys had bought the studio, so they were remodeling the whole thing, and they were looking for people to come down and give them time and labor, and they would give them studio time. So we did that. I ended up working there myself for about 10 years or more, and I earned all this studio time and pay for these recordings that we did. Our first album, it took us about a year to record piecemeal, to assemble all those songs. So while I was down there working, I'd earn enough time to record a song, and then that kind of went on and on for the course of about a year. Like I said, it wasn't the easiest thing in the world to go in and record an album. Jesus Christ, dude.
Wait, who was it that said that?
Steve.
Okay. I figured it would be Steve.
Sounds tedious and like exhausting. I would just feel like, fuck, I just want to get it recorded, like probably have a lot of the songs ready to go.
Yeah, but
they'd been around a while, like not a while, but I think they had some singles out already by then. They're kind of already making a name for themselves. So yeah, I think the album, I don't know if I'd say it was late, but it was definitely kind of not as early as you would have expected considering the timeline.
Yeah, it seemed like they were like a 79, 80 band, and then this album came out in 82, which is it's a lifetime in the punk scene, really.
Yeah, a lot of bands are already gone by then.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, there's so much about this that is not going to appeal to most people. I mean, how do you pitch this album? I mean, you hear, because you can get through like Ever and Life is Cheap. And then you get the first song with Will, which is Shed No Tears, and it's just the goofiest attitude sludginess. I mean, it's such a silly fucking. Once you hear him, it's hard to defend it.
Speaks for itself.
Alex, what do you think about Shed No Tears?
Another one where I just love the lyrics to it. This cops and nuns dying. And yeah, there's this like genuine. Like Robert was talking about earlier, this is genuine like lo-fi production that's almost lightning in a bottle, and it probably doesn't help that all these like rich as fuck indie bands pretending to be poor would like trade their souls to have the production that this album does.
Yeah, and it was so much by necessity. They just did what they could.
Yeah, when it's by necessity and it's like, this is what we have, I think a band like Flipper can make it work in their favor, and it becomes a highlight of the album where I don't want to bring up a random band, but like a newer band, I'm like, you're doing that on purpose. Go fuck yourself.
Mm-hmm. As a whole, though, I'd say this album, more than any other, struck me the most with little. I mean, they're lyrics. I was gonna say quotes. They're like little memorable lines. Like something about these songs stand out thematically and lyrically more. Even though I'd say there's like a lot of other songs that I like more of theirs on different albums. There's something extremely memorable about this package of songs, this collection of lyrics, the way these songs came out. That's pretty hard to deny, even if you can absolutely deny this type of punk. Because, yeah, I mean, it's not accessible in any way, but there is something weirdly alluring about it.
Yeah, I mean, Henry Rollins said in the liner notes, I think it was Sex Bombay. I think he did the notes for that one, that he went and he saw Flipper play like every single chance that he got. And he said it wasn't because you weren't going to see Flipper to see a good show. It was almost like a rite of passage. Like you had to go, like, just like kind of, that sounds like kind of vague, but I guess Flipper just kind of serves a different purpose or something. That's part of the pitch, I guess.
So after this, which I didn't realize until you mentioned it. So Blown Chunks came out after this. It came out in '84, the same year as the follow-up album, but it was released earlier.
Yeah, I think it was March, or just earlier in the year, and then later in the year was the follow. So
not, like I said, I'm not gonna intro Blown Chunks or do a full entry on it, but we did listen to it. Robert, obviously, we talked about at the beginning of the episode. That was the first thing he bought from them. The first thing I heard by association. Alex listened to it. I'm sure he loved it. Blown Chunks. So this is, it's hard to excuse most live punk albums because they mostly came out like shit. I would say this is in the camp of it came out like shit. What do you think?
Agreed 100%. I was advocating not to even talk about it.
I don't know. I like some of the versions on this better than generic.
I think it's this nostalgia for you guys.
No, because if it was nostalgia, I would have probably picked it as personal favorite. But listening back is
you're
like,
not allowed to though.
Oh well, no, but now I'm not.
Now, I would say that this version of Life is Cheap is the ideal version for me. Strictly because of the pitch shifted vocals. I like the way it came out much more. For the most part, everything else is not. Yeah, I don't prefer these versions.
I like the version of Life. It just comes crashing out the gates at you without the long intro. So
yeah, it's right.
Like when I heard the generic version, it took a while to get used to because I was used to it being a more like kind of upbeat song, more energetic or something. And so a lot of the songs on this album do sound like not like they're hungover. It sounds more like they're not even that drunk yet, until the album goes on. By the end, they're plastered.
Oh yeah, by the end of it, I mean, obviously the closer, "If I Can't Be Drunk," is the most self-explanatory thing ever.
Well, Ice Cold Beer was I think that's the closer.
Oh, right. Remember, I might have just listened to a version that had it combined into one. I know it's a lengthy.
That's just a song that they changed the lyrics to. I think because they would do these things where they would demand that people give them beer, or else like they wouldn't play, or else they would play one song like over and over again and not stop until they bring up. So
hilarious.
I'd be pissed.
Of course you would.
That's all part of the rite of passage of seeing Flipper.
I guess.
Holy shit, that is hilarious. What was it? So what are the exclusive tracks to this album?
In Your Arms?
In Your Arms, that's right.
Yeah. That
is
one
that the only one?
Yeah, I think so. Well, Ice Cold Beer is kind of like an exclusive one. It's just very different from the studio version, which is not even the same title or anything. It's on the next album.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually very different.
So In Your Arms, I'm actually not even a fan of that song. Like the one exclusive thing about this album, I'm not even that into.
I liked it a lot more now, especially like the lyrics. I don't know why. Yeah.
Alex looks so frustrated.
Well, when I first heard the album, I was with you on that, but like knowing all the songs now and stuff, like I don't know, it's like you're getting more Flipper from that era that you take what you can get or whatever because there's
Alex
only
has
limited.
had more of his fill than he can take.
This every single time. It's just like the studio version. For me, the studio versions always blow it away. There's this.
Oh, I disagree. There's something really that I like about Flipper specifically with like in regards to the live versus studio stuff is that so many times the feel of it is different. Sometimes what you thought was a sludgy song is actually now it's it's one of the faster songs just because whatever the fuck they were on that night made them play it differently. I think a perfect example of that is Sacrifice. We get, I think, 3 different versions from all the albums that we're covering today. And each version feels really different. Like this version is like the fast, chaotic, punky version of Sacrifice.
Yeah, definitely.
This was put on Royer. I can't even fucking say that word.
Reach Out International Records.
Is that what? I didn't even. I never actually knew that.
The cassette only label.
Yeah. Same place that put up Bad Brains first album. Check out episode on Bad Brains. I didn't realize it was a Royer tape. Had no idea.
Yeah, that was the first time I heard of that label. Thanks to the CD.
Really? Wait, before Bad Brains?
Oh yeah. I think I heard Flipper way before Bad Brains.
Wait, what?
I'm pretty sure.
But we heard Bad Brains in England when I was 9.
Well, I heard Flipper by then too.
Okay, well, my entire childhood is a giant blur now. All right, well that's fucking nuts.
It does become a blur, but it could have been adjacent to each other. I don't know. I don't think they were that separated.
Either way, this is like, yeah. In terms of most live albums are like, all right, if you're a big fan of the band, you're a big old nerd, whatever. There's plenty of live Flipper albums to choose from. This is in the camp of if you want more of that era, you want more like, because there isn't even that much banter on this live album, which is like one of the things that we go to live Flipper for.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense after hearing all the other stuff, but like for a long time it was kind of like the only Flipper available.
Mm-hmm.
At least
blessed.
My generation.
Imagine if Alex was only able to choose from this Flipper back in the day.
Yeah, I know.
What just wrote him off, probably.
You don't even like the banter on Ice Cold Beer?
I don't. I know you two love your like live fucking banter. It
only with this band.
Like it rarely does anything for me.
Only with this band. I typically don't care much for I don't like live albums like at all. But there are select moments with this band like that's just fucking funny. God damn it.
I feel like I've heard you wax poetic about some band's banter. I can't remember which
If you
ones,
can't cite it, it didn't happen because I don't remember everything.
Well, it's gotta be shellac, right?
Well, I can't think of any live
or
shellac stuff.
Were we talking about like
they take questions from the audience or whatever?
Alex,
were we talking about Metallica's live shit? Where I was like, I kind of fucking hate it. I hate the you guys having a whack crazy time tonight.
What about Paul Stanley?
I'm not a fan of live Metallica banter. He just says, you want some fucking more. He kind of just says that over and over again. But what I will go on record for is Dead Kennedys live banter. Another San Francisco band, of course.
Yeah. Well, nothing comes to mind, but I know Jello was kind of like a showman in that regard.
I'll allow it from Jello. Jello probably says some amusing stuff.
We covered, was it Give Me Convenience or Give Me Death? And there was like some live stuff on there that is like genuinely entertaining stuff.
I haven't heard
check
it forever.
Episode from a long time ago. Yeah, it's a good comp. But so enough of this one. We have more to cover, plenty more to cover.
So many.
Alex is so angry. Alex is seething right now. This is already a long episode. So let's move on to the actual follow-up. Second studio album. And yeah, this came out in 1984. This is Gone Fishing.
I think this is my favorite Flipper song.
Really?
Yeah.
It is a good one.
It used to be, but the Blow in Chunks version.
But what?
The Blow in Chunks version was my favorite Flipper song.
All right, I'm gonna clock out. Robert's got this. You don't need me for the next 2 hours.
That was then though.
I don't know if I've ever listened to this album straight through. Because I've heard the song so many times. I was so thrown off by the bells in this version.
It makes it for me.
It's really nice.
Where nothing is something, and our lives flash before our very eyes because of lights.
So one thing that sets this album up, similar to the way Ever did with Generic, this is a dark opener to a much darker album.
Yeah. This is a more experimental album, if you will.
I kept trying to think of the best way to describe it in comparison to Generic, because they're both pretty dark or bleak. It's just different shades of dark, I guess.
Different shades of dark. Yeah. Say it, Alex.
Personal favorite.
Called it. Knew it. This is a great album. I mean, I haven't.
It's so good.
I thought I heard this album because I've heard every song on the album. I guess it never registered, never listened to it in order, never listened to it, like sat down. I had no idea this was this experimental and psychedelic and dark.
Yeah, it's got this weird, almost like neo-noir vibe to it. At times there's like, they go like full beatnik with like congos and stuff. It's just, I was not even, they were doing some unique stuff on the last album, but I wasn't expecting any of this, and it's this delightful and unique, and it still has all their trademarks lyrically that you know and love. Still has that flipper guitar playing in it. But yeah, I thought the
guitar was really different compared to Generic.
It's different, but I think the way he's attacking it and playing it is kind of in the, like, using the same.
It plays the same role. It's like in the same part of the mix. I thought he was just playing like a lot more like regular power chords and stuff compared to like the scraggliness of like Generic.
He does seem to be getting more regular, quote unquote, as the albums go on. Still far from normal, but it has that trajectory to it. I would say, if I had to pick a favorite Flipper song, it's really easy. First, The Heart. Holy shit.
Oh man, it's this sleazy jazz stuff.
Saxophones are back.
Saxophones are amazing on it.
That's a good example where they're different but the same.
It's because whereas Sex Bomb had these really, really sleazy kind of party saxes, this is really jazzy and a little bit more on the noir side, but they're like layered. They're kind of going in and out. It's everything about it is more psychedelic, and it's really snappy and post-punk sounding, like rhythmically. And man, what a fantastic dark bass line. And then eventually at a certain point, guitars come in, and then it adds to like the overall chaos of it. It feels like genuinely more advanced and like a true evolution from like the debut. I was hoping for more of that on this album. It doesn't quite get that tight and that far out there in jazzy, I guess. It kind of goes more into like the standard Flipper fare, where like the sludginess and all that later on. But god damn, what an amazing song.
Yeah, and in life, my friends, that's this punk rock Velvet Underground to me.
There's one with that crazy bendy bass line. Like the bass tone couldn't be more different, like from the first album.
Super
it
twitchy.
Reminds you of like a rubber band. It's a lot cleaner. It's less gritty. I can't think of very many albums that kind of have a similar sound like that.
I think a good way to summarize this album is they traded out grit for sleaze.
There's still grittiness here, but there is a lot more fuckery, a lot of production on it. There's a lot of spaciness. There's a lot of like, you know what, this seems like we're gonna throw a fucking bunch of samples on this song, and we're gonna have like a bunch of delayed vocals or a bunch of vocal overdubs. And
Survivors of the Plague.
Yeah. I was not expecting this much production with any Flipper album. I really, it's right. I feel like I must have not heard this album, because Survivors of the Plague is a perfect example. Those vocals are so fucking annoying. I mean, god damn, they're grating. I like the song, but
that's why I thought it was funny you picked First Art because Will is on it.
It doesn't matter. I think he sounds pretty fucking cool on there.
But Will, the whole Will thing, Survivors of the Plague, it's just like it goes on, and the more it goes on, the more Will you get.
It's just so much Will.
So for fans of Will, that's your song. Well, one of them.
Yeah, it's this. I like the working man, blue collar lyrics. About how in the toughest, to kind of summarize this. And unfortunately we are survivors of a plague, and so I felt that a little more, where like I saw working people suffer the most. So
don't I know it, man? God damn. And now we finally got the studio version of Sacrifice, and man, like, so that I was saying about every version of the song being so different. This one, so for one, it has a bunch of samples of like, warfare and bombs and guns and all that. But it's so much more out of tune than I remember the song being. I mean, like I said about a lot of songs, but really, I always felt Sacrifice was fairly straightforward. It was like the evil, mean sounding song of Flipper, like their most evil sounding. But this one is way more, this is the most fucked up version of the song. That's for sure.
Yeah. Cause, I think a lot of people might hear maybe the Melvins version first, like me, or the live version after that, like me. So hearing this version was just like, it took some getting used to, like the samples and just kind of I don't know if I would say like the dryness of it or whatever, but the vocals seem very forward, like in the mix too. Mm-hmm. Like it's one of their signature songs, but I don't know. I think it's cool though that there's different versions of it.
Yeah, I'm glad that they all feel as different as they do. Alex?
In my head canon, it's this one and the Melvins one. I love the way the bass line has that like neo-noir vibe to it. His voice compared to Buzz is more in line with like a punk or like a thrash band like DRI's. So I like that the two versions that are most enjoyable to me are completely different.
Completely. Talks Cheap is like the first moment on the album that lightens things up a little bit. Maybe like the only light song on the entire album.
Yeah, and I think that unintentionally makes it feel like there's some... It also has like less meat on its bones than other dark, moody songs on here.
Mm-hmm.
And what is it? You Not Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's ice cold beer.
That's ice. Okay.
Yeah, but it's so different. This is like a haunting version with like really atmospheric effects and stuff. Completely different vocals.
Sludgy as shit. Completely super ugly bass lines.
The like piano caught me off guard. Like I don't associate sludgy stuff with piano, and these crazy sons of bitches made it work.
It works. It's genuinely off-putting and creepy at times with there's like a bunch of vocal layers, and a lot of them are singing actual melodies, but they're like kind of off in peripheral. In peripheral. So it's a little creepy. It's well done. I quite love this song.
I'll just add, back in the day, when I heard Blowing Chunks, I had Generic on CD. I was so desperate to get a hold of this album, and the only way I found that I would be able to hear it was if I ordered a vinyl copy from Subterranean Records, which I think was the label that originally put it out.
Yeah.
They must have had like backstock or something. And no record player. Like, I don't know if people would kind of grasp just how hard it would be for me to get a record player back in the day, but that pretty much just like got rid of the possibility of actually hearing the album until they finally put it on CD. Was it 2008 maybe? Yeah, so a lot of the songs I was familiar with, just different versions, live versions and all that. Yeah, by the time I heard it, like a lot of my enthusiasm wasn't at its peak.
Yeah.
Like when I first heard them, it didn't sound as new or fresh, but it was good to come back to it. And I think this probably would have been the one that was one of the ones I was battling it out for best. It's just what are you more in the mood for? It's like, do you want to get lost in like the dronier stuff of like generic, or like this one rolls along a lot? I don't know. I guess you could say it rolls along faster, but the pacing is a lot different.
A lot different. I have like mixed feelings about the pacing of this one and generic. I think this one is a little bit stronger up top, whereas generic is stronger on the second half. But there, I mean, was not expecting this much of a shift. And yeah. Like I said at the very beginning, so much more psychedelic than I thought it was going to be, and it's pulled off in a way that's not sloppy in the way that Flipper is sloppy, but it's not like it doesn't feel like cheesy or clunky, like they were just trying shit. It actually feels like, oh wow, I didn't think that would actually work. It's silly and strange, but not bad.
They could make it work.
Yeah. Anything with Ted, really.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
The album cover was Ted's idea, I think, to have the cutout of the tour van and the cutout of each individual member and like their instruments and stuff. Yeah, so I think, like I said, he designed the logo and stuff and a lot of the album designs and all that.
Yeah, interesting.
If you see the picture of the van, it's hilarious. It's just like completely like covered with graffiti and like shark's teeth on the front, and I think on the top it's like it says coming to a repair shop near you or whatever.
That's fun. I didn't realize that was their actual van. Holy crap.
Yeah,
I love the colors in that van. There's just something about it, like in the graffiti or whatever paint they had laying around, where I don't know, it comes together in a very cool, unique way.
Very cool. The closer is One by One, and Ted is actually fucking playing guitar on there, and it's
a chord.
Yeah, playing chords, minor key, super dark sounding, beautiful stuff. And then on that song, now it's the fucking bass doing the crazy noisy nonsense, which is very, very interesting stuff. That's the one with the bongos on it that Alex mentioned earlier.
And you have to see the live version of that. How Will just like attacks the bass. It's just hilarious.
I will not be listening to the live version.
No, you have to watch it. You have to watch it. He's playing like what's probably like a Music Master or Mustang bass, which is already like a small bass as it is. But I'm guessing the previous owner, because a lot of hippies were doing weird things to instruments back then, instruments that are worth like thousands now if they didn't trash them. Well, whoever owned it sawed like the majority of the body off, so it's just like this weird like just angular shape that makes it look even smaller, and he's just like bashing it like crazier than Pete Townsend or something.
I do think that's my favorite drum track of Steve's. Like, I love the outside of, the hand percussion going on. I love his drum choices on there.
Yeah, it's a great song, and I'd say typically their closers are fucking really great. Like almost across the board, they have fucking great closers. That's like the dark closer of all of them. But yeah, Alex's personal favorite, and yeah, great album. Really different. Still still very much Flipper, but a different shade. Composition was also mastered by George Horn, which Tom puts here. This guy, apparently he's worked with Woody Allen, weird, Paul Simon, Sly Stone, Steppenwolf, Creedence, Isaac Hayes, Thelonious Monk, and Exodus. Crazy. These masterers, the way they get around is fucking nuts.
Quite a resume.
Flipper, Exodus, Isaac Hayes. You know, the holy trinity.
Exactly. And they never recorded an album again. We're done.
And they never recorded a single album. It's not like we have 4 more to get to.
Yeah. Well, that was easy. See you guys next week.
Now on to the next one. All right. So now we're on to the second and last live album that we'll be talking about. It's a big motherfucker. The title of it is a hilarious response to good old Pill. We'll talk more about it in a second. This is 1986's Public Flipper Limited.
The quote Robert said earlier of "New Rules, No Rules," that's the name of this song, by the way.
Ready? Is this it? 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's probably like one of the more just straightforward hardcore punk songs.
Yeah, one of the few. This is just like trashy ass shitty hardcore punk. I love me some hardcore punk, but I'm not used to Flipper doing this.
I'm pretty used to it by now.
Huh?
I'm pretty used to them doing that. Pretty much gonna hear the whole song.
Pretty much. So this album is live and it's an hour and a half.
Double album.
Yeah, this is double disc. I mean, double albums. We see like, you know, an hour 10 or something. This is like long for even a double album.
Well, because it was like you mentioned, Pill was a response to that, and then like I think Metal Box. I was gonna say that was a double album, but wasn't it? No, it wasn't like quadruple. I don't know.
Really?
I know it was not a single album though. I'm pretty sure.
Well, it did come in a Metal Box, but yeah. So as we know, Generic was based upon Generic being a generic album, and then Public Image Limited put out their version of that, which is Album in I don't know what year. And Flipper's response was to name this album Public Flipper Limited, which is a very funny response to that. I don't think they were being blatantly ripped off, but it is a funny response. And this album has a surprising number of original songs on it. Like I was expecting like maybe half, but it's most of it. It's like 9 out of 15 are only available on this.
Yeah, so you know, gets a pass.
Kind of gets a pass.
Alex.
Not for me. Worst least favorite.
Oh, you're out of your fucking mind. You're out of your fucking what? Wait, what? Oh, you're crazy. You're crazy.
No.
Yeah, you're absolutely out of your mind. This is I guess if you're looking at it from production, I guess.
Yeah, like all these, and then like some of them, like we just get later on Sex Bomb Baby. So it's just like I can navigate the world of Flipper without having to go here.
Wait, which ones?
Well, there's only a handful. So the ones on the next one are like the original single versions, like Love Canal and Brainwash and all that. But there's like 9 out of 15 is only on this. And those are great songs. And I could point to a different album that has not nearly as many good songs. It sounds like shit. Is it performed like shit? Horrifically. It's performed horrifically. And is it funny as hell? Also, yes, which I guess is Robert's pass, not for most people.
Well, the follow-up song that's got Hard Cold World, which justifies the entire thing's existence in my eyes or ears.
Why is that?
Well, it might be my favorite Flipper song.
Really? Why?
There's something
feedback,
about
the feedback.
I don't think there's feedback in it, but it's one of their darkest songs, and like the desperation in Will's voice. And it's one of the ones where they do this thing where they'll just jam on the bass line, just like they'll drone on, and then I don't know, until it falls apart or whatever, or they get tired or whatever. But this one, it's like you want it to keep going and going.
I do quite love Hardcore World. You said he sounds like the most desperate. He does sound truly lost.
Just think about like how he ended up, and then the lyrics and stuff. I don't know, man.
Oh,
He
man.
does say at the end, "Sorry, we really suck tonight." So
That is pretty funny. But it's another great main riff or main bass line. And it's pretty punishing, especially to, open your track 2 of your double album with an 8-minute song. I mean, a lot of these songs are just, we've got them, some of them we got other places, but they're just extra long here because they're live and they're just doing whatever the fuck they want. And there's no real structure to the songs anyway. They just sort of hammer on the same bass line for however long they feel like. It gets pretty exhausting. I mean, this is not an easy album unless one, it's on in the background and you're enjoying the little banter in between, which is pretty fun. I mean, I find it to be a really fun album that I was like, I was dreading it at first. And then after first listen, I was actually looking forward to going back to it because I found it to be just fun. I mean, there's a lot of good songs on here, despite the fact that Alex hates it, but you hate it because you can find. I mean, there's only like 5 songs that you can get on other places, but about the originals, is it just because it's sloppy and produced badly?
I mean, that's part of it, and then I always prefer the studio versions to, like when the game's got a price, because I hadn't listened to the Sex Bomb compilation yet. I was just like, there's like something missing in here that I feel like they would hit out of the park in the studio, and what they did in the studio wasn't what I was expecting from it, but
definitely not.
I'll wait till we get there, but it's not like it's missing something cool that like if it was done on the first 2 albums, you would have got some like cool texture to it that this is missing here.
Here's why I disagree with that. Around 6 minutes, when they start singing the melody to What the World Needs Now, but with talking about explosives, that's fucking hilarious.
Yeah,
that is a great, unique thing about that. So screw you, Alex. That has something. It takes 6 minutes to get there, but it's great.
You don't even like the stage banter on Flipper Blues?
Oh, the song rules, dude.
Like I said, this not one for stage banter. Hold on, I'm going through my notes for
Alex is not
it's a closer. Flipper Blues is a closer.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that is a genuinely like fun song.
Great closer.
But yeah, I could have sworn, I don't know, I have no sense of time. Oh, okay, no, I was getting that. I was like, did they I got it confused with Flipper Twist, but no, that song is fun. I'm not going to listen to an hour and a half of just insanity to get to it.
If you just skip over the songs that are on other albums, it's like it could be up there like with one of the best albums.
I felt the exact same way. Skip, because again, out of 15, only like 5 of them or so are on other places, or maybe 6, which is like I was a lot less than I was expecting, and that automatically chops the length of the whole thing down. Obviously, this isn't. Playing the rules of the game, I get Alex saying worse because of that. Because if we're gonna just chop off songs from albums, then that kind of eliminates the whole point of that being a good or bad album.
I chop more off of.
Yeah, probably.
I just chopped the whole thing. All right, hold just.
Yeah.
But anyway,
So I get that. But if we were to do that and just listen to the songs that were only exclusive to this, I would fucking love this album. I would go back to it way more, even though it sounds like shit. There's plenty of fun stuff on there. I'm kind of never on board with If I Can't Be Drunk. It's funny. It's a funny song, but I don't like any version of it. It's just too shitty. It's just
the definitive version of it is on Blowing Chunks. I'll give you that.
Whatever.
It's even worse on there.
It is much worse on there. But
for me, like also, like when I listened to it, I just thought it was from like 1 or 2 shows, and then I saw it's just taken from all over, so I was confused why some songs had sax and some didn't. But one of the positive things I'll say is there's something about If I Can't Be Drunk where like the version here they execute fairly well, and it feels better than even the version of Sex Bomb on here.
Interesting. So of all the songs that ended up working more for you, I was not expecting that one.
I did fucking neither was I wasn't expecting anything. I'm just here.
I just noticed something in my notes since you brought up Sex Bomb. There's a part where Will says, "Can we get more beer on stage, please?" But like he clearly sounds like he's drunk already while singing.
Yeah, I wonder if he was. Yeah, Jesus Christ. The banter stuff is very funny. It's not like it's really just at the tail, the bookends of some tracks. It's not like a banter album. It's just kind of peppered in there a little bit. And it's not like the reason to listen to the album. I would say the reason to listen to the album is all the songs that are only on this one. Like the Wheel is another really strong one that I like a lot.
The Wheel, yeah. So that same show where Will is attacking that butchered bass, they play The Wheel. And it's such a cool look into what their shows were like, in the sense of, what their fans were like. Like they had like their own dance for the song The Wheel. So
Really?
like everybody, they're all doing this wheel dance, like as they're playing The Wheel, like just playing it over and over and over again. I think that was the one where they would extend for like, like longer than all the other songs. That's what it was known for. Like The Wheel, just
Jesus
keeps turning.
Christ. Oh man, that's grueling.
That is a highlight as well, The Wheel, but it comes too little too late for me. I just take The Wheel and put it on a playlist or something.
The same with Flipper Blues, man. I find not only are the lyrics hilarious, I mean really funny lyrics, but goddamn, what a great bass line. Another great one. And I love the banter for it just as much as the song is Southern California. Boy, do I love that one.
Yeah.
A band like Flipper and, some people like to make fun of Southern California, but I don't see you fucks moving to Mississippi or Alabama or fucking Arkansas.
They're
Those
not moving
places
to LA
suck.
either.
Well, they got San Francisco money.
Almost as homeless as LA, if not more so. They're on the running. They're pretty bad up there. I would say San Francisco is as bad as LA.
My point being, it's whatever. It is funny, dumb lyrics, but
Well, he was saying this way back when he didn't live to see how bad it would get.
Yeah, I mean everything was. They weren't living off a lot. I would say that even then.
I'm gonna point to the Pish Jean song "Everywhere Is Bad." So
It's just what flavor of bad do you want at this point? I can pretty much safely say that about anywhere. Good album too. Check out our episode on the latest Piss Jeans album. But
for example, you're up in Northern California,
I'm in Northern
in a
California.
small college town. Your things to do has shrunken significantly.
Here's the thing. I would be fine with the less things to do if it weren't for the goddamn fires and weather. Like, I mean, there's something bad about everywhere, really.
There's my point. There's my point.
Exactly.
If you don't get earthquakes, you get tornadoes or whatever.
Yeah, in the rural areas, you get tornadoes, or you get hurricanes. If not there, whatever. Everywhere sucks. But as far as other songs that are only on this, we got OOAO. Pretty fun stuff. Very
It's a
Misfit
fun one.
style.
Sing along.
Yeah, a pretty cute song.
It's a short, quote unquote, lacking lyrics. One of the self-aware.
I'm not too big on "I'm Fighting," which is that another one that's only on this album?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
That is one of their ugliest fucking songs for sure.
It's like
Was it meant to be ugly?
Yeah, sure, probably, but it does feel like very Germsy, in that kind of style of punk.
Yeah, I think it was probably like one of their more normal songs, but the performance just kind of puts it in that territory.
Yeah. We don't understand.
Oh yeah.
I mean, again, another sludgy, sloppy, oddly satisfying one that I dig. I mean, most of the original songs on here I find to be pretty damn good. But yeah, Alex's worst least favorite. It is a fucking marathon to get. I mean, it's long. It's insanely long. And if you're a psycho like me and Robert, you still enjoy it for all the reasons that we listed. But it is a very badly produced, badly performed, lengthy live punk album. So you gotta get an idea what you're. Yeah. Also, to my credit, despite giving it that, I do agree in covering it in the legacy of the band. It makes sense. Yeah.
Right. Well, a win's a win.
A win's a win. We'll take it. and you gave it up for the wheel.
Yeah.
We'll do that.
Well, I don't know. I'm still stuck on Flipper Blues. The way Bruce introduces the band is just, it shouldn't be as funny as I find it. I don't know why.
How does he introduce the band?
What do you say? The 4 guys with their hands up their ass and their zippers down.
Oh, that was a good one. That was one of the few that made me like chuckle.
Yeah, that song. Yeah, that song is gonna remain an all-time favorite Flipper song. And goddamn, it's great. But time to move on. We still got some more. We're gonna try to run through these a little bit as quick as we could. Next is. It was a compilation released because right now at this point we lose Will. He dies of an overdose in 1987, and I believe Subterranean. I think it was Subterranean, put out this compilation. Yeah, thank you. Of all their earliest singles, compilation tracks, and threw them all together. We have a reissue in '95 that adds 3 bonus tracks, 1 in the middle of the album, 2 at the end, but it's just compiling a bunch of like. All the loose ends, essentially. This is 1988's Sex Bomb Baby.
Is this the one everyone, I don't know, what is this the like considered the definitive version?
Know. You tell me, Robert.
That I don't know either.
It is a different version. I mean,
I thought you were like, I went to throw on Sex Bomb and it wasn't the version, so now we're listening to 10 more I'm exaggerating, but
I'll explain,
that's why I thought you knew.
I'll explain what you meant
okay.
In a second. So this is the first, the second single from the second single they put out, I believe.
Yeah, 7-inch single.
From 81, I think it was 81. And whereas the version that we have on the first album is this sleazy saxophone heavy thing, this one is just dirty, grimy, chaotic.
The vocals are way more unhinged.
Way more unhinged, way less words, a lot more screaming. Just as fun. I don't know which version I like more. It's so it does that for like the next 4 minutes. So like we kind of
get the idea. So
personal favorite,
best, and I can't believe how much I because I've heard this. This was a gift from Robert one random Christmas, which was a completely left field Christmas gift. It was a delight. I can't believe that this is like the perfect representation of Flipper. Like it has everything that they did great is on here. So one, the pacing on here I think is stupid good. Like we open it with Sex Bomb. It's a big crazy opener. It feels just as good as an opener as a closer, especially this version. And then follows it up with Love Canal, one of their greatest songs and the best version of it, the one from their first single. Follows that up with Ha Ha Ha, another one of their best songs, the best version of it. Follows that up with a live version of Sacrifice. That is my favorite version of Sacrifice.
Yeah, definitely.
Dude, like, I can't believe how good this comp is.
I was so close. I wanted to give it best, but I think one, I wanted to kind of spread the Flipper love, but like like I said, I could have chose this or Generic or Gone Fishing as the actual best album. I think why I didn't is just simply because Sex Bomb. Like, it starts off with Sex Bomb, and I kind of preferred the album or the compilation with just as many things that I haven't heard before that's on like other stuff. Because even Sacrifice, that version is so different. It feels like a different song, but the version of Sex Bomb on here, it's not that different. So, I mean, it could just easily be their best, though. It's the most representative of them as a band. It's got every aspect of Flipper you need to know, including the live banter stuff.
And I would say, I know Alex is not big on the live banter. This is, I think, my favorite live banter stuff that I can't help but laugh my ass off every time.
The best one
ever. This version of Ever, which, like, yeah, we have Ever. We have a better version of Ever on Generic, but this version is amazing. It's a different song for one. There's no hand claps. It's way more fucked up and messy and shitty. And then it stops halfway because there's a conflict and
in the crowd.
In the crowd.
Before that, there's some other guy, because if you see their live stuff, people will get up on stage and then they're the singer for Flipper for that night or whatever, or for that song. And so there's some guy who he's not even in the band. He's singing, making up his own lyrics. And, he sounds obnoxious. He's like lispy, probably fat or whatever. And I'm like, this guy's kind of annoying me. But then the whole thing falls apart. And you hear who's probably the club owner or people like in charge of the show, basically put a stop, pull the plug on the whole thing because some kids are getting beat up in the audience, which was a pretty common occurrence at, punk shows, especially hardcore punk shows or whatever back then. But you hear, I guess what's clearly like somebody older, like who would be like maybe the father figure, who I'm guessing, I don't know, maybe that was the club owner. Just like, you finish, Michael.
You're not a child. You're a fucking adult.
Yeah. And you are no longer a little kid.
You're a fucking adult.
No, but before that, there's like what sounds like probably like concert goers saying, hey, you're being up on like little kids, 14, 15 years old, little kids.
It's just the most real interaction. Like it's not like people fucking around and joking around. It's like a real thing.
Yeah.
It just somehow it just ends up being unintentionally hilarious.
Lightning in a bottle.
Yeah. It's like this thing, it's not like a live album. It has like 2 or 3 live tracks, but those live tracks capture everything that you need. It's like a nice little, here's all you need from the Flipper live experience. There you go. And then the rest of it, it's not like as well produced as a Gone Fishing or anything, but it's exactly, you're not missing anything. Like this version of Love Canal, raw and gritty and straightforward, but they're not fucking up so much. Everything is right where it should be. It sounds good. And then you get all the other songs that you don't get anywhere else, which is most of everything else. Getaway is like the tightest that they've ever been in this entire first era.
So the closest thing they've probably done to a pop song. And like, as crazy as you all probably think I sound already, there's something in that song that I hear that could be like on par with like early Misfits stuff. It's just the vocals and the performance kind of distract from it. But melodically, just the simplicity and the melody of it, to me, is like it's up there with any like Misfits song that Danzig wrote.
It is very catchy. Danzig, part of what made Misfits so good is Danzig's vocal lines, though. Like he was a master of like that melody, simple riff balance thing. So I could see how that people wouldn't catch that quite as quickly. But Earthworm, I believe, is their first ever recorded song. Alex, what do you think of Earthworm?
I love when a song, you hear the title and then it sounds like the title. So It feels dirty and slimy. I enjoy that song.
I thought the exact same thing, that no other song sounds like Earthworm more than that one.
Absolutely, yeah.
How many songs are there about earthworms?
Not enough. Not enough. Yeah.
But
It's this one and the Earthworm Jim cartoon song. That's it.
Oh.
Earthworm Jim, that's a great. It's a great ass cartoon. It's a great cartoon.
That's an insane texture that they got with the bass and the guitar at the same time. I think it is.
Oh yeah, it's super crazy. Even Steve made a comment about that. About it was on a comp. What was it? What's the name of the comp that it was on? Underground SF or something like that. SF Underground. So close enough. It was like It was like a 7-inch, four songs, 4 bands, and even he was like, "Yeah, that's a string. That was a weird song." I mean, it is a very weird song, but I'm surprised it's not on any of the live stuff, because it is a very cool song.
Yeah, it's kind of epic sounding.
Yeah, very sludgy. But what else we got?
Falling.
So falling.
That sounds like the title as well.
Yes, falling. Along with the closers, Lowrider and the game, those are the bonus tracks that were added to the 95 version. Even though I like Falling, I don't like that it's thrown in the middle between Sacrifice and Ever, because I think that disrupts the pacing a bit. Because without it, we would have gotten just a crazy, amazing sequencing of songs. But man, there was no light on that song. It is dark as shit.
That song is how I felt all week. It's sludgy, it's discombobulated, and then it gets wiry, and I'm like, yeah, this is how I feel this week.
You feel that way? Is it because of having to listen to Flipper?
Among other things.
Didn't help.
I mean, yeah, it didn't help. Is this a combination of things, but I don't want people to think I don't like the band. Like those first 2 albums are amazing, and this is like I think Mike bought up the Dead Kennedys compilation, Give Me Convenience or Give Me Death, and this seems to be like Flipper's version of that, where you get these rarities on a compilation that this happens to do a great like this is a great introduction to the band.
Yeah, I'd say this is the perfect introduction to the band, because really it's not as out of tune as everything else, surprisingly. I mean, parts of it are, sure, but a lot of it just like, it showcases their style while still being really hooky. And then you get the weirdness. You get plenty of weirdness. For example, Alex teased a little bit earlier, this version of The Game's Got a Price. What's going on there, buddy? What's going on?
I don't even know if I like or dislike it. It's their most electronic sounding song ever. I thought it'd be like more jammy, but I don't know. If you like weird shit, if you like Brainiac, maybe it's right up your alley. And I do like Brainiac, but there's like something off here.
It's just sped up, right? It's just because I didn't even put it together. Like, I know it's the same song from the live album, but I didn't put it together as the same song in my head, because this is just a sped up song.
Yeah,
isn't it like 8 minutes?
It was. Now it's what, 1, 2?
I thought it was. Oh no, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry,
this version,
I was.
This version is 2 minutes because it's sped up, which is. It's such a strange choice to have that as your studio version. It just showcases the fucking mental illness of this band. It's not the only time on this album we get a fucking insane decision to do that with their studio version. Brainwash.
Yeah.
Can we talk about Brainwash?
That's what I was getting confused. I got the that song is a one-trick pony, but I still like it. It maybe doesn't need to be 8 minutes, but if you're a fan of uncomfortable jokes where they just keep going on and on, this is very much the musical equivalent of that.
It's their funniest and trolliest song ever, because we got the live version, which is a minute long. And to be fair, the song is a minute long. They just decided to have it repeat 7 fucking times in a row.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, the most, I don't know, it's hardcore in a nutshell, I think.
Well, explain
It's
what you mean.
summed up, condensed, like, this is it.
Yeah.
So maybe they were trolling. I mean, they did troll the hardcore punks,
Yeah, I'm sure they fit in real well with their 8-minute songs.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it actually, I mean, if you were just to cut it to make it into the 1-minute song that it is a very cool punk song and with funny ass lyrics that are just kind of meandering about nothing. But when you put it 7 times in a row, by the 5th time, it's like, it's just so funny. Like, oh God damn it, they're doing it again. Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, the count in, 1, 2, 3, 4.
And one of the funnest live songs is the old lady who swallowed a fly, which is exactly what you think it is.
Yeah,
that is. Yeah, that one almost broke me a little bit.
Why?
It was just like, it's clearly a joke song. I don't know. It's weird because it is very similar to Brainwash, where it's like, this very jokey thing, and it really shouldn't go on for 8 minutes. But here it's just fucking absurd and goes on forever.
It's absurd. It goes on forever. But it has this weird build to it. Like at first it's just him doing the nursery rhyme. Then the instruments come in and it becomes a song, and the lyrics keep getting more and more absurd. And it's, it's just fun stuff. The only song I don't care for is Lowrider, which is another reason why I kind of would prefer. I want a version of this without the bonus tracks. Because it would have ended at Brainwash, which I think is a pretty hilarious and great closer. But Lowrider has a weird swing to it, which I'm definitely not used to.
I was like, is this a cover from the band War?
That's what I thought at first.
It's not.
Definitely not.
It's an original.
I like it.
You're right
So
with
it's sloppy kind of, it does sound like a car skidding on the road.
Yeah, definitely. And then the closer here, end of the game, which is one of their sludgiest, maybe their sludgiest sounding bass. It's like the most detuned bass that they have. Gnarly.
Maybe their angriest sounding song.
Yeah.
I agree with Robert. That's exactly what I wrote.
Yeah.
You don't really think of them as being angry, but this one I kind of like, just
it comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's brutal. It's one of the most brutal. I like it quite a bit. Yeah, this whole thing. I knew this was gonna. I figured this was gonna be a personal favorite because I have fond memories of it. And let's do it a bunch. And the reason why we ended up covering this because we were only gonna do the 4 studio albums. And I was driving in the car with my lady friend coming back from In-N-Out, and she was a big fan of Sex Bomb. She's like just fully on board with the song. And I thought, okay, I'll show her the other version. Like there's a different version of it. It doesn't have the saxophones, a different feel. So I threw that on. We're listening to that, and then it ends, and then Love Canal comes on, and I was like, oh shit, this is one of their fucking best songs. And I was like, it's probably on the second album. And I checked, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, it's not on their second album. What else isn't on their second album? And it was most of their great songs, like not most of their, but a lot of their great songs that made me like have to redo. And I had to ask Robert, like, okay, what we definitely have to cover Sex Bomb, baby. And that's why we covered literally everything. Like, there's just too many songs that I'd be embarrassed to not have covered. Love Canal and Ha Ha being like huge ones.
That's kind of, I think that when they put that out, that was probably, I think when Jello Biafra became a huge fan of theirs, and like every interview he'd say, they'd ask who his favorite band is. He's just Flipper, Flipper. He was just like constantly mentioning Flipper. So, yeah, and I think it was due to those weirder, artier singles that came out before the album.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's essential to cover it.
It's definitely essential. And this is the ultimate starting point for Flipper. I mean, yeah, it still has, it's shitty and sloppy, but not to the point of like their live albums where it's falling all over and everyone's like bass just stops playing for like a whole song for no reason, which happens a lot, by the way.
It's like, where'd the bass go? Like you just imagine like the strap came off and then the bass fell or something like.
Yeah. And then it also has the funny stuff, the funny live banter, but it doesn't go overboard with it. And it has the studio stuff, which is just some of the catchiest bass lines ever. It's just got it all. My best, Robert's personal favorite. And the last time we get Will Shatter because he's now gone. Following this, we're on to the next album. And boy, did I fucking not see where this album was going. Because now, who do we got, Alex? Who do we have involved now?
Is it Rick Rubin?
We
Is
have a
that what
Mr.
we're
Rick
looking
Rubin
for?
on
Yeah.
a Flipper album, which I had no idea. So now we got fucking Rick Rubin on this next album. We now have on bass. Now we have John Doherty on bass and backing vocals. We have Bruce singing lead, just lead vocals now. And yeah, this came out in 1993. This is American Grafishy.
I was so shocked by the drum sound.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
so clean.
Yeah.
This is like Flipper doing hard rock.
Yep. And not the only song on the album that feels like that too.
I see the mirror, the one things I do and
The way the vocals are though, this makes me think of like it's got more in common with like not Red Hot Chili Peppers, but like that early '90s funk rock
You'd
kind
say
of
Faith
stuff.
No More.
Yeah, I would have said them, but I still haven't heard that much of them.
Robert needs to watch our
big stuff.
episode on them and then disagree with both of us for our picks.
the needles shine sharp, teeth clean.
I hear that rapping cadence though.
Yeah.
As it comes right back again, I start to scream. Deep.
So it kind of hangs on that main.
Riff for the whole thing. Yeah, worst least favorite.
Worst least favorite.
Yeah. I don't even think this is that bad of an album, but I'd say it is noticeably weaker than everything else. The songwriting just isn't there. The magic is kind of missing, and I don't like this production. That weird clean metal hard rock reverb on the drums really is bizarre.
The vocals too. A lot of the songs, Bruce will do this thing where he'll multi-track the vocals like as part of the chorus or whatever. And it's just, I don't know, man. I couldn't listen to this album more than once.
Really?
I couldn't do it. It was
Robert
tough.
disliked it that much. I didn't even dislike it that much at all.
There's some moments and stuff, but like compared to like everything else, it's just like it's not what I go to Flipper for.
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely. What do you think, Alex?
I think there's a lot of songs on here, no pun intended, where they're definitely spinning their wheels a bit. To my amazement, like the most fun I had was Flipper Twist. It's this one of their like, if they have party songs, that's one of them. Yeah, it's just there's moments for sure. How do I say this without like getting too? I think the next one is worse though, but we'll get into that.
Get out of your goddamn mind. Holy shit. That's more offensive than you giving Public Flipper Limited worse. Holy shit.
I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck.
That is insane. That is crazy talk.
The problem I'll say the problem Flipper has is the problem that Can had when their bass player left. They were replaced with somebody much more adept and basically just lost like what made them them. If you don't have Bruce or Will on bass, it's just not Flipper to me.
Interesting. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I do agree that yeah, this guy can play. He's playing everything correctly, but I don't give a shit what he's playing. It doesn't really nothing's that memorable. My favorite song on here, I think, is Distant Illusion because it's like the most gritty and angry sounding out of all of it. And it's a song that fits the most with with Ted's guitars.
I like the riffage on Distant Illusion. They're not like a proper sludge band, but that's one of the sludge songs that they got in their arsenal.
Well, the only redeeming things on here are the parts where I feel like Ted is more recognizable. You kind of get the familiar feeling back of what made Flipper.
What would you cite?
on Flipper Twist, I guess about a minute and 40, and that was when I first like finally recognized Ted like being somewhere in the music. Like I guess, yeah, the overall sound I guess was just overshadowing him a lot.
Mm-hmm.
There's some ugly moments on here that are pretty good, but
yeah, I would say he's like the best part of it. There's the most charm in Ted purely because I like the bass. There's like still dirty bass, but it's not the same kind of dirty bass. It's still cleaned up. Drums are super fucking clean. And Bruce is just sort of doing this. I like Bruce's voice across the board, but I just don't. I like him the least on this album. Ted's weirdness is the only thing that makes it feel like, oh man, they're still in there. The magic is gone, but they're still in there.
It would have been the drums, but the way they're recorded are just like too good.
Too good. That's what I felt like it. What I felt like was like, yeah, so far the traditionally strongest production and the tightest performances, which just goes to show how little any of that mattered to make this band great. Jesus Christ.
No, but really, man, the bass playing, like, there's just like these little licks in there that you would like never hear like in a Flipper song, and it just changes the music entirely to me. So it's barely like a Flipper album at all. I don't even. It's hard to consider it a Flipper album.
Yeah, it doesn't really feel like one.
This does have their worst closer on it with Full Speed Ahead,
100%.
which is an ironic title because this goes out on a whimper.
Yeah, it's a rough closer. It's a really and before that we get Pays to Know, which I think is another pretty weak one. I think
that one's just too similar to Distant Illusion.
They're similar.
They're kind of the same song.
Very similar. It revolves around a minor second riff, which is, I mean, just, a half step. It's just not that interesting. The weirdest one to me is Exist or Else, because it has this almost replacement style indie alternative sound to it, but it's still kind of shitty and grimy. It's just a weird song because the primary melody is carried by the vocals. But it's just a style that they've never done before. It's not, I didn't think it was that bad on first listen, but on second, I was like bothered by it.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, it's a miss for me. Like I think especially being smack dab in the middle of the album, and then it's not a strong song. So it's just like committing two major sins.
Yeah. This one was going to be hard to not be worst. I wasn't expecting it. I really wasn't expecting it to be that bad, and I wasn't horrified when I first heard it. But it was just like, all right, yeah, this is about right. This is kind of what we should have expected. Not the album after Will dies, and then in the 90s, and then somehow Rick Rubin's involved. The story behind that is unusual. So I guess apparently Rick Rubin has been a fan of Flipper for a long time, which is honestly not surprising.
Oh yeah, he's another one. I think he would say Flipper was his favorite band all the time whenever people would ask him.
Yeah, it's fascinating. On the wiki, it says that he had his own Flipper tribute band, but the citations are kind of bunk. One link leads to an article that doesn't mention it at all because Wikipedia, and then the other citation is from like a book where you can't click on it. So I don't know if that's true or not, but it'd be very funny if Rick Rubin had his own Flipper tribute band.
Yeah. Well, there were lots of, I think there was a band called Flipper Jr. that was like a Flipper cover band or whatever.
Interesting. According to Steve, he said that, I guess they had met Rubin at various points in the early 80s. And then he kind of hit it big with his label, with all the hip hop stuff, of course, he became giant. And then when he put out Rain and Blood from Slayer, check out episode on Slayer, that's when they're like, oh, so he's not just doing hip hop now. He's kind of on the table because he's at least doing, whatever the fuck else. So eventually they thought of the idea of just kind of reaching out to him. After Will died, they got the new lineup. They wanted to have like a fresh start. They recorded a new single. I'm forgetting which song it is, but Steve says, so I took that single and mailed it off to Rick Rubin and got a call from him that he loved it. And he said, when are you guys going to be coming down to LA? I said, I'm not sure yet. As soon as I book a gig in LA, I'll let you know. So he books a show in LA. Rick goes to see him. He takes him out for lunch the next day. And he says, so the next day we met him for lunch. at Venice Beach at one of those outdoor cafes, and he said, "Okay, I want to sign you guys." So we signed with him, and apparently this album did pretty well. Like it sold, which is nuts. How this? Like, who was buying this fucking album in '93?
Well, I think a lot of the whole grunge explosion probably helped kind of maybe draw a little bit of attention to them.
I bet Nirvana didn't hurt either.
Yeah.
Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, obviously it was Nirvana. I mean, the most press you could possibly get. It was only a couple of years after Nevermind.
Yep. Well, Kurt was still alive.
Yeah, for a little bit. So this happens, and this is like the first time in their entire career that they're getting paid. They're actually getting paid for their music for the first time in like more than 10 years, which is pretty nuts. It took this long for them to get anything at all. They were getting interviews, like in magazines, and they get, actual PR. They had a tour, planned out, and whatever. So they, in between these tours is when the big fucked up world shattering thing happened. Steve says, and then in between tours, Bruce Luce got into a terrible car accident up in the countryside where he lived. He rolled a pickup truck down an embankment and was pinned inside a pickup truck. So that ended our whole thing, He was done. He had a broken back, so that was the end of it. That happened in 1994, and in 1995, I decided I'd move to Los Angeles and figure something else I was going to do with my life. I ended up getting a job in the animation industry. I worked for great animation companies, which was a really fun experience. I worked for Hanna-Barbera cartoons, and I worked for Warner Brothers Animation. This is where it gets fucking nuts. He says, did you ever end up hearing about a cartoon called Pinky and the Brain? I think we all know Pinky and the Brain.
That tracks. I was going to throw out I bet this dude worked on Animaniacs, and I was not far off.
He says, I was working on that cartoon at Warner Brothers, and a couple of the artists said, do you mind if we use Flipper in a couple of the cartoons? And I was like, yeah, that'd be great. So they used us in one episode as graffiti in this high school that was all graffitied up everywhere. And then there was a quote unquote grunge episode where Pinky and the Brain moved to Seattle to start a grunge band, and they were going to take over the world, right? They were going to create this amplifier that would hypnotize people, and they would be under the power of Pinky and the Brain. So they animated cartoon caricatures of two of us in the band. I gave them photographs of us, and they created caricatures. And in the end, we were in this quick scene where we were running across a rainy street in Seattle, carrying guitar cases with the word Flipper on them. And he even gets a timestamp occurring just after the 5-minute mark here from the episode, the Pinky POV, which initially aired in 1998. What the fuck?
Wow, I gotta see that, man.
I know.
Amazing.
Absolutely amazing. And then after that, Steve was wildly successful with this thing, because not only that, around it from 2000 to 2005, he started managing bands because this music supervisor came to him saying that he needed bands to record songs for the fucking Scooby-Doo movies.
Oh shit.
So he went and found bands for them, and then started managing bands for a long time. He only quit because he said too many of them were breaking up, and it was just, too much of a pain in the ass. But so he had this great run on this random ass animation career thing. And then came time when CBGB was trying to stay open. Spoiler alert, they didn't, but they were calling a bunch of the bands that they loved from back in the day to try and support, to keep them around. And they called Flipper. So he tried to put together a reunion. Bruce and Ted apparently were all fucked up because, for one, John Doherty from American Grafishy, he died of an overdose also. So he says, we didn't have a bass player because our second bass player, John, died of a heroin overdose on Halloween 1996. All I had was Bruce and Ted, and they were all fucked up. I really wanted to do this, but I had to locate those guys and talk to them and convince them to go do this. So they decided to do it, and I called a friend of ours named Bruno de Smartass, who had guested with Flipper before, to play bass with us, put it all together, and we went out to New York. Apparently, Bruce was walking with a cane. He was lost a bunch of weight. He was really messed up because of the accident still years later. And Ted was homeless, living in his car. And it's like the most depressing shit ever. Like, you have no idea where these dudes are going to end up. One ends up working for fucking Warner Brothers animating, and one is in his car. Yeah.
Well, I guess Steve always did seem like the straight man of the group.
He was the most talented, honestly.
The backbone.
So they reunited with them, and that's when we saw them. So we don't get this next album until 2009. In which case, for some fucking reason, now we have Krist. How do you pronounce his last name correctly?
I always said Novoselic.
That's what I said too for years, and then I heard people saying Novoselic.
He's like fucking Danish or something.
Croatian.
There we go, Croatian. Yeah, it's probably with some pronunciation that is beyond our American tongue, but maybe Novoselic, whatever. Anyway, he's fucking playing bass for them now, which is the most random shit in the world. Not that random when you look at the influence, but still, like, he doesn't need to do anything ever again in life.
Well,
but
he loves Flipper.
there it is. So, Steve says we played for about another year or so with Bruno, and then he left, and we ended up, lo and behold, getting a hold of Krist Novoselic, ex-bass player of Nirvana, and he came on board, played a series of shows with us in Europe, and from there we decided to record a new studio record with him, and that is where we are now. The last album. Are y'all ready?
Yep.
Ready.
Hell yes. So this came out 2009. This is Love.
Bruce is gruff as shit now.
Yeah.
If I didn't know any better, I would think like,
You would think,
oh,
what?
like they sounded like Fear or something before, right?
Really?
Just like based on this. Like if for some reason this was your like introduction to the band.
Fear?
I don't know. It's like gruff and
Fear is faster, much faster, and Leaving has
sure.
that jazzy kind of. That's not jazzy. That's just what Leaving does. If I wasn't afraid
I'll
to
just
right now,
say
I would do
a more traditional punk band.
traditional punk. This song anyway. Yeah, this is a surprisingly poppy, simple, straightforward opener. It's a very short song.
It's kind of not indicative of what the album sounds like at all.
Yeah.
I think this is one of their best albums. I was blown away by how much I like this album.
I wouldn't say blown away, but I liked it more. I thought it was better than I was expecting.
Alex thought it was worse. Why?
Through all my ups and downs with this band, not once did I ever write out the sentence, this song hurts me, and not in a good way, like it got me in the feels. Night Falls is one of their worst fucking songs ever.
Insane. Oh, I love that song. I think it's great. Great tones all over that song. I love that bass line.
Awful. Oh my God. Yeah,
So
I
was trying to remember which one that was. My notes say it's got an interesting vocal line.
It's the closest. It's the closest Bruce gets to singing, because on this album he's just screaming pretty much. That one, it's like a hook. It's a hook. You know what? I don't understand Alex's hatred of the song. I think it's very cool. We will hear it now. Not to torture you, Alex. Not to torture you, but
it's fucking dog shit.
But for evidence, you're insane. This is
fucking dog shit.
I never thought anything on this album was bad, though.
Nor did I.
That's a cool ass bass line.
Yeah, that's a cool dissonant note. But
Yeah. That's a great bass line. It's a weird. It's a vocal hook. It's so weird. Is that a fucking octave effect on it? On his voice?
Probably.
I think it is.
oh yeah.
Oh.
So I imagine that main riff is the reason Alex hates it.
And it's the reason I like it. I mean, take your pick, really. Honestly.
Yeah, the fucking like the vocal. Like, fuck. I realize this man's been through some shit.
Yeah,
but
in a flipped truck with a broken back. That's what that sounds like.
there are two highlights for me, which is Why Can't You See? Because it's like Sludge Zeppelin.
Awesome
and then
song.
I was just so over this. Like, Old Graves caught me completely off guard. Like,
One of their best. Amazing song.
Holy shit. Yeah. Those two songs are fucking great though.
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, the only bad closer they have is from Full Speed Ahead from the last album. Old Graves is a fucking crazy good closer, where it's one of the few songs where Ted's guitar playing is like perfectly complementing the bass line. It's really dark main riff. It's a sludgy song that takes its time and goes on a while. Vocals don't come in till like 2.5 minutes in. It's perfect closer.
Yeah, there's some Flipper songs that work because they go on, and that's one of them.
Also, a big thing here. Best produced album by far.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. Was this Jack and Dino who did it?
Jack and Dino.
Okay, yeah, the best sounding one. Funnily enough,
I mean, totally shit. Yeah. Tom poses the question here. He says, "Love, who did it better, Fetus or Flipper?" And for that matter, for Melvins, if we're going Fetus or Flipper for albums called Love, Flipper, 100%. I mean, I do like the Fetus album, but I do like this one more.
I'm in such a haze, but I'll probably go Fetus.
Just because Alex's distaste for that's that caught me off guard.
I might have hated that one too. Because Fetus was just such a crazy.
Yeah, I don't remember you hating that one. It's one of their better ones.
I think that one was just okay. Yeah,
it's one of their better albums. I liked it more than most of their albums, but this one. So Krist sounds great on here. His tone sounds awesome on here. Everything is. So for one, the production is way more fitting. The drums sound lively and big, but not like with that cheesy reverb all over everything. Ted's guitar is finally mixed in a way that fits perfectly. It's like the first time ever where you hear him, you know he's there. He's not buried. He's not dominating. It's right where it needs to be. So you can appreciate stuff like Learn to Live, which with this kooky paranoid ass bass line. And everything about it is just so gritty. It just feels great.
I actually saw them live when they released this.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't hear the album yet, so I didn't know any of the songs or anything. So I didn't appreciate it as much, but hearing the album now, it's just there's a lot of things that I do like about it. It's not as strong, obviously, as the other stuff, because the one main one is that you don't have Bruce or Will on bass. It just doesn't sound like Flipper to me.
It is tighter. It is. I mean, there was no fuck ups on here. It's a tight band playing these types of songs.
Yeah, and two, the songs pretty much all start exactly the same way. It'll start with the bass line or whatever, and then everything will come in with the drums. It's like it's all
catch that. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so it gets kind of like it actually tricks you into thinking it's not as creative as it is, but it actually is pretty creative. Like just the interplay of the bass and the guitar and everything. It deserves more props than it kind of seems on the surface at first.
I was fully expecting for it to be a reunion album where it's like fine, but I'm never gonna have any interest in it. The production alone caught me like, oh, this is actually finally like flattering to what they're doing. So it let me kind of let my guard down with the actual songwriting and stuff like Triple Mass. It's like, yes, that would fit in on a classic Flipper album. Like that bass line, it's a great, it's like that one along with like several others, like even though Alex doesn't think so, Nightfalls, where it's like that type of bass line feels like the logical evolution of where Flipper would go if they got less fucked up and they got better at their instruments. Like that type of bass line, it has the hookiness. It is still dissonant and weird and ugly, and it's all tighter.
I agree with the tighter thing. And yeah, like the bass playing on Nightfalls, I don't have a problem. It's just the vocals, completely fucking ruin it. This does remind me of like Faith No More's reunion album, and I think we talked about another band where it's like, it's not the same, but you know it's the band.
Yeah.
And you kind of just have to accept it as a different band. But then also, I don't know, Night Falls, Live Real.
Oh, I love Live Real. Oh, I was just going to cite about how much I love it.
Transparent Blame. I don't know. To me, they don't got that dog in them anymore.
Oh, I disagree with both those, or all three, I guess. Transparent Blame. Although I mean, I'm not going to say it's like one of their best songs, but it is one of the more angry things here, and the production helps it quite a bit. Live Real, I find the bass lines to be very, very delightful. I mean, it's a simple main riff, but it's effective. In the chorus, the bass line gets super busy. I think it works really well. It's definitely not something that Bruce or Will would have done because it's a technically well done bass line, but I think it sounds cool.
No, most of the bass lines sound cool. Yeah.
Yeah. The tone, I was most impressed by the bass tone on this because it's not the same on every song, but it is notable on every song.
The bass tone, I don't know if I'm saying this just because I know it's Krist playing it, but it makes me think of his bass tone on the Nirvana song Binasan. There's like a bass solo that he does, like a distorted bass solo. It's kind of like one of the few times you really hear like a distorted bass in a Nirvana song. And I think when I saw him playing live, he was using the same bass, so I wonder if that's part of it. He's using the same bass that he did from those days.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't even think about. Yeah, you really don't get any dirty bass in Nirvana. That's surprising too.
Yeah, maybe 3 songs. I don't know.
Maybe on Bleach, but that's not Krist, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But, I don't.
It was
The drummer. Yeah, no.
Back when he was Chris instead of Krist.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was delighted by it. Really, I'm pretty partial against most like newer or reunion punk albums because you would point to like so many examples. I mean, you point to Bad Brains. It's like, oh yeah, they're back. They're back to playing hardcore again. But it's like it's fine. It's like, but it's nothing like special. This was like, oh, this is I actually like this. I come back to this.
Yeah, definitely. I think I need to give it more time too. I only got to hear like 3 times, but one of the times speaker was too small. It was I had to really like give it a better listen in the car.
Nightfalls was a bridge too far for Alex.
It's crazy. It's fucking crazy.
In a weird way, the vocals kind of remind me of the previous album. Like, I don't know, in terms of trying to be like the hooky rock vocal, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get that totally. It's the one moment on the album where it's like a vocal hook, semi-sung kind of thing. It is, and plus the weird octave effect on it that it does stick out whether you like it or not.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of wish they would have stuck together with this lineup.
Yeah, apparently the reason that Krist left was simply he just didn't want to tour. He wanted to stay close to home and with family and stuff. Which fair enough.
'Cause he doesn't fucking have to.
Doesn't have to. I mean, he was doing it for fun anyway. Yeah, stick with your priorities. That's fine. If you want to stay with family and you don't want to tour with Ted Falcone, I get it.
Well, a lot of people, like after they've had the touring life, never want to go back.
That's what I hear.
I think like what Paul Leary, I think Thurston Moore said that. I don't know. A lot of our favorites.
Well, they did quite a bit of that. So Krist leaves, and they're just like kind of scrambling for people. They get for getting the replacement they got.
It was a girl. I forgot her name, but she was from Frightwig.
Yes, the girl from Frightwig.
Frightwig are probably maybe the closest thing to like a female flipper.
Really?
Like all girl flipper type of band, kind of.
Holy shit!
I wouldn't know if they're as sloppy or drunk, but that kind of the slower kind of noise rock kind of side of punk.
Yeah, it was Rachel Thewell, or I'm probably not pronouncing that right, but yeah, she replaced him for a while, and then around 2012, Steve says right here, by 2012, Bruce's back was getting bad again and touring became an issue. It was really hard on him. And even though he had his back repaired somewhat, it was still a degenerative situation. So touring and traveling and bouncing around in tour vans and playing every night took its toll. And by 2012, he was kind of done. And there it is. No more Bruce. And that was basically it. It was it until they got offered to do, I don't remember they got offered to do a gig in Italy. All expenses paid week long in Italy, plus a fee on top of that. It was like, oh, this is like a huge, and we get a vacation in Italy plus a payday. Like, what the hell? We need to find someone. So they got the one and only David fucking Yao. So apparently he went to see Chrome. So also from San Francisco, and we've recently brought him up on the pod. Chrome was a very cool band. They were playing in LA and they had David Yao come and guesting for them for a couple songs. So fucking Steve just asked, would he do it? And of course he jumped on it because also obviously David Yao was a fan of Flipper, and he was just with him for a while. At a certain point, and like 20, what year was it? Maybe it might have been 2015. Yeah, it was like 2015. He was like done. He wanted to focus more on acting. It was also bizarre thinking of like David Yao as just an actor. Just so crazy. But he just just stuck with him. Like they said, oh, how about you just do a few dates with us in LA? And he's like, okay. He's like, oh, well, how about Southern California? He's like, all right, I'll do them. And he just kind of stuck with him for a long time, which is pretty fucking awesome. And then as recently, I think, when did it happen? It was, in 2022 is when Mike Watt joined on bass and vocals. And that's where they're at now, with Ted on guitar, Steve on drums, and Mike Watt, bass and vocals.
I gotta make it a point to see them again.
That'd be so cool. I mean, oh man, God, I love Mike Watt. He's just the guy. He's just the guy to get when you're reforming your old ass band and you need someone who's going to do the job right.
Yeah, a little, new energy or something.
Yeah, even though he's like, there's nothing young about Mike Watt, there is something youthful about him.
Well, just like getting a new member. Sometimes I would say the same with David Yao. Looking at some of the live footage, he just totally fits in the band like a glove singing those songs.
Absolutely. Ugh, man, I wish I could have seen them with Yao on vocals. Man, yeah, that's the end. We did a long episode on Flipper. We knew it was going to be long. We appreciate Alex for sticking with it, and despite the pain that he was in.
My name's on the podcast, and I just gotta do them.
He's got no choice in the matter. That's what happens when you give me the choice of which band to do. We do fucking Flipper.
It's supposed to be 4 fucking albums, Mike.
I thought it was 4 too, and then I realized, no, hold on, it's 7.
We couldn't exclude one of their best.
At the very least, yeah, Sex Bomb Baby had to be there. But let's do a little recap. Alex, kick it off.
Best generic Flipper. That's the blueprint for the whole fucking band. Personal favorite, Gone Fishin', goes places I wasn't expecting. I dig the vibe of the whole album. Worst least favorite, Public Flipper Limited. It sounds like shit. It's an hour and a half long. I can get what I need from studio recordings. I don't need this, but the wheel rules.
There's 9 songs you can't get anywhere else. Like 9 songs out of 15. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Robert?
Well, depending on the day, and this day is today.
This day is indeed today.
I'm just going to give best to generic, kind of the, I don't know, maybe the catalyst for it all. Personal favorite, without a doubt, is Sex Bomb Baby. It's got everything you could need from Flipper in terms of what the band is about. It just puts a smile on my heart like few other things do. And it's essential. Worst, least favorite, American Grafishy. It's just as far away from the original, as far away from the essence of Flipper as you could get.
Indeed.
From what they've done.
For me, basically the same. Generic Flipper, personal favorite. and Sex Bomb Baby best. And my reasoning being just the pacing of Sex Bomb Baby, as well as it being the place capturing everything that they did right. I think it's just a better starting point. And Generic, I find problems with the pacing of it. I don't love everything on it, but there's something that just warms my heart, and that it's just, it's just the play. Those two, you can't go wrong with those two. And worst, least favorite, American Grafishy. Robert just said it all. Also, last thing about Sex Bomb Baby, which it is really, honestly, one of my most fond Christmas memories is getting that gift from you, being completely blindsided by it, and then our father insisting we put it on in his truck.
Yeah.
Which was the funniest shit ever. Yeah. Blasting Sex Bomb with my dad, who's very confused.
No, I remember at the end of Love Canal when they play that weird sample. I remember him being like kind of intrigued by that. Yeah. Like this frantic lady saying like, "Give me my child" or something like that.
Yeah. One of the most unusual Christmas memories, but a cherished one. And thanks to Flipper for that.
I didn't know you would remember that.
Oh, absolutely. But thank you so much for listening and watching and hanging out and for watching this whole episode. And if you're new here and you want to stick around, you know what to do. Subscribe, give a thumbs up, talk some shit in the comments, tell us why we're stupid and we don't know anything. If you want to do that, you can do that too. You can follow me on all social media at PanderMonkey, Alex on Instagram at
Every Album Alex.
And Robert, where can people find your stuff?
You could find me on Instagram, hoodpass.wick. You could also tune into my radio show on NTS called The Athenian Marketplace. Playing a lot of Flipper in this month's episode.
I bet.
Yeah. But yeah, you could find stuff like that, like Flipper, a lot of other weird stuff, maybe stuff you've never heard before also. Yep.
Very nice. Don't forget to follow our history guy, Tom Osman, at Tom Osman Sounds on all social media, as well as TomOsmanSounds.com for all his music and his podcast, whatever comes next, where he interviews a bunch of indie musicians. Links to all that in the description. And please be sure to check out our Patreon, patreon.com/everyalbumever. You get bonus episodes, two bonus episodes a month. You get to see our schedules in advance. You get to vote on polls to decide what we cover next. You get to join our Discord, be a part of our community, hang out with us. You can suggest albums from this year, there's brand new albums from this year if you want to see us do an episode on those. And if you're tier 2, then you can suggest a full discography for us to cover on our bigger, longer numbered episodes, just like this one. As well as you can suggest any album from any discography ever, and we can do Patreon bonus episodes on those. So there's a bunch to do. It's a very nice, good, fun time. Go there. And wrapping it up, Robert, what do you think we should close this episode out with? And don't be a dick. don't be a dick. You know,
is it possible to be a dick?
Yes, it is. If you pick the 10-minute live version of Sex Bomb, that's being a dick.
Oh, no. We can't go with Sex Bomb. We got to highlight some other stuff.
Indeed. Anything in mind?
Well, I want to play Hard Cold World.
Man, that's being a dick, but I can't. I'm not going to argue with it because it is great.
It's being a dick in a Flipper way, I guess.
You know what? I'm not even mad at that. I do love the song quite a bit. Alex is probably not going to be on board with that because it is a live song. But it is an exclusive live song, damn it.
No, whatever. Whatever.
Right.
I'll be back next week. I don't give a fuck.
Dedicated to Will Shatter.
Dedicated to Will Shatter. This is Hardcore World. Thanks so much for listening and watching. See ya.
If anybody needs drugs, you people do.